subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Stunned when he saw the wings appear, and the other prisoners were also stunned. However, the more shocking scene was below. 1, 2, 3. A full 7 figures suddenly appeared. 5 of them fell from the air and landed straight on the field. 2 figures appeared in the air. One of them grabbed Rocky and spread out his blue and white ice crystal wings, lifting Rocky up in the air. The other figure grabbed the ball in the air and slowly fell into the court. When Rocky fell, he backhanded the ball past him. He looked up at Leja. "You're not the only one who can summon mind beasts." Leja. Chapter 61, the last of the Kuruta tribe with the appearance of 7 ice beasts. The temperature in the entire venue suddenly began to drop. Frost began to condense on the ground. The sudden drop in temperature made everyone retreat away from Rocky and the half of the area where Rocky's mind beast was. But their eyes still stayed on Rocky. Mind beast. This kid can actually summon mind beasts. And these mind beasts seem to be made of ice. Yeah, it suddenly became so cold. The prisoner said. Zhuan turned his head to look at Leja. Leja was also very shocked at this moment. Transmuter. Mind beast. This kid actually developed a similar ability. This is too surprising. But what is unknown is how powerful this kid's mind beast is. Rocky raised a volleyball in his hand and threw it into the air. The next second, the ice beasts on both sides opened their mouths and exhaled a breath of cold air towards the ball in the air. The cold air instantly wrapped around the volleyball. And at this time, Rocky suddenly burst out with a strong mental energy fluctuation. Powerful energy. As Rocky jumped up and smashed hard, the energy was directly released through his eyeballs. Although Rocky, who summoned the mind beast, seemed to have a lower amount of mental energy, the power of the mental energy did not seem to weaken. What's going on? At this moment, Leja's forehead was sweating coldly, and he didn't understand how Rocky did it. Logically speaking, Rocky shouldn't and couldn't have reduced his power when his mental energy decreased. The reason is very simple, because Rocky has opened the red eyes. In the state of the red eyes, the power of the whole system is increased by 100%. This also led to the fact that although the energy of the ball hit by Rocky was reduced, the power was not weak at all, and as the ball with cold air bombarded in the direction of Leja. This time, Leja immediately controlled the number 1 mind beast, the number 4 mind beast, and the number 13 mind beast formed by the combination of the number 6 and the number 7. The 3 mind beasts rushed forward to catch Rocky's ball. However, when number 1 and No wanted to weaken the power of the ball first and then catch it, suddenly, the cold air froze the hands of the 2 beasts, although it was only covered with a layer of frost. But even a thin layer of frost made the hands of the 2 beasts unable to release their energy. The ball violently knocked the 2 beasts away and attacked Air Lingzing directly. At this moment, Leja felt something was wrong and quickly moved his position. The next second, the 13th beast caught the ball, covered with frost. The huge body of the 13th beast flew backwards like a rocket. Bang! It hit the wall of the stadium directly, creating a pit, and cracks like spiderwebs spread out. In an instant, it flew dozens of meters away and hit the wall of the stadium. This power. And when the 13th beast caught the ball, Liza swallowed his saliva silently. At this moment, Rocky shook his head in dissatisfaction. The power is still not at its maximum. The state just now is not good. Rocky estimated that he could only exert about 85% of his strength at most. After all, it was the first attack after summoning the mind beast. The state has not yet been adjusted. Player number 13 is eliminated. Since it is out of the court, the ball belongs to player Rocky. The calm voice of the Zero Mind beast sounded. Liza came back to his senses and looked at Rocky in surprise. The ball just now was covered with amazing cold air, which can freeze the mind, although it can only form a thin layer of frost. Once it is frozen, the key cannot be released. This ability is quite tricky. This means that in the next contest, you must not be frozen by Rocky's cold air. Otherwise, no matter how strong the key is, it will be useless. Buzz. Suddenly, the wave of mind energy around Rocky spread again. Rocky slowly took off the contact lens on his left eye. Liza, do you know the Kuruta tribe? Seeing Rocky's eyes, Liza was stunned at the moment. That beautiful color, the halo that seemed to permeate from the fiery red eyes, like a red starry sky. Beautiful. So beautiful. Are there such eyes in the world? Kuruta tribe. Liza frowned. He had also heard rumors about the Kuruta tribe. The seven beauties of the world. It really lives up to their reputation. Liza sighed as he looked at Rocky. Now, Rocky would not be happy to hear such a description. The seven beauties of the world. It is really because of such a legend that the group will destroy the Kuruta tribe. And now the remaining tribesmen have all disappeared because of this guy in front of him. When he thought of the appearance of the clan leader, Rocky's anger began to burn. That's right. We are the Kuruta tribe. Everyone that day, except for some crew members, is basically the last people of the Kuruta tribe. When Rocky said this, Leja's expression suddenly changed. All the people of the Kuruta tribe? Before accidentally coming to Greed Island, the Kuruta tribe suffered a genocide. A group of thieves broke into the Kuruta tribe in order to seize the red eye and killed most of the tribesmen. I took the remaining tribesmen away. And you? Rocky raised his head and glared at Leja. The key on his body also exploded instantly, and the suddenly spreading key shattered the floor. Suddenly the cracks continued to spread. My people were expelled, and even expelled to all parts of the world. Many of these people don't even know the language of the outside world. Once they enter the outside world, they will face a life or death ending. If any of my people is missing, I won't let you go. Boom, boom, boom. After 3 consecutive explosions, Rocky's key instantly exploded with a more terrifying amount than before. Perhaps because of anger, the most direct increase of ki was about 3 times. With this terrifying amount of mind ki, Rocky made a punching motion. A mind beast came to the front and raised the ball and placed it in front of Rocky, waiting for Rocky's attack. Looking at Leja, who was controlling the ki to gather on his fist, his eyelids twitched wildly. This amount of attack. Hey. If he was hit, I'm afraid he would definitely not have a good end. This is too much. Liza. Suddenly Rocky's roar sounded, and Liza came back to his senses. Bang! Liza suddenly said, I didn't expel your people. One punch. It hit the ball directly, and the eyeball was like a rocket. It hit directly in the direction of Liza. It brushed Liza's 4.3 side face, past Liza's figure directly, and hit the wall directly, blasting a huge hole and directly blasting through the wall of the venue. You can even see the flying ball through the hole, flashing straight across the sea, and the trajectory left behind directly splashed countless water on the sea. Under the light, a rainbow appeared. Rocky looked up at Liza. What did you say? Liza swallowed his saliva and looked back at Rocky. I said, I didn't expel your people. Although they are not on Greed Island now, they are absolutely safe. Hearing this, Rocky glanced at Pyro, and Pyro was also confused. I expelled you because you are a nun, and your people are not none, no, Liza explained. As for Pyro, it was because Pyro dragged Rocky and was taken out of Greedy Island. Chapter 62. The Kuruta tribe itself is a relic eye. Liza raised his hand and wiped the small wound on his face, looking at the blood on his fingertips. Even though he had used all his strength to protect himself, he was still injured. That means if the attack just now really hit him, then he would probably die. His eyes turned slightly, looking at Rocky, who had already put away his energy. This kid is really as strong as a monster. His talent may be even more amazing than that guy Gene. Are you serious? Suddenly Rocky asked seriously. Liza nodded. Really? Rocky exhaled. It would be best if the tribesmen were fine. Since they were not randomly expelled to all parts of the world, Rocky didn't need to blame Liza for the previous things. Sorry, it was not Rocky who said this, but Liza in front of him. Rocky and Pyro were stunned for a moment. Shouldn't they be the ones to say sorry? They misunderstood Liza. I didn't know you didn't break it on purpose, but because of the nun, I tend to think you broke into Greed Island on purpose. If it's a normal situation, you can't be expelled, and you should be helped to leave Greed Island. Liza raised his hands and said, I admit defeat in this game. Rocky moved his lips, and before Rocky could speak, Liza continued to say, I'm not admitting defeat for other reasons, but your strength is indeed stronger than mine. Keep going, you will win. Liza glanced at the prisoners around him and said, There's a high probability that I will be injured, and if I am injured, someone may be ready to move, so it's better to admit defeat directly. The expressions of the other prisoners were a little strange. I should say sorry, but now I just want to know where my people are. Knowing that Rocky would ask, Liza released the beast, and Rocky also released the beast. You two come with me. He took Rocky and Pyro to a room in the venue. Before entering the room, he also told others to fix the hole in the wall. After closing the door, Leja took out a card for Rocky to see. This is a teleportation card, a special card for the game GM, which can teleport a designated object to a certain location on the island. While Rocky and Pyro were still wondering why this guy took out this card, Leja had already explained. After I found out that the others were not none that day, I used this card to teleport them to a certain place. My companions were responsible for sending these people back to the outside world, and I don't know what happened next. Rocky, then I'll send you there right now, and I'll contact him and let him tell you where your people are. Rocky nodded. Sorry for the trouble. Thank you. Waved his hand. I'm the one who should apologize. I didn't figure out the situation and sent you two off the island directly. I'm sorry that you've been worried about your people for so long. Okay, I'm going to use teleportation to send you there. Get ready. Use teleportation. Swoosh. Accompanied by two voices, Rocky and Pyro disappeared in the room. The teleportation method is not similar to peering or magnetism, but similar to Knob's dimensional space. A black hole appeared directly under the feet of the two people, swallowing them up. When they appeared again, Rocky and Pyro have come to a room. You two are the ones who defeated Liza, right? I didn't expect that he is so strong at such a young age. This is the first time I have seen someone from the Kuruta tribe. As soon as they met, a well-dressed teenager kept talking to Rocky and Pyro. Rocky also knew this guy. Lister, one of the game creators of Greed Island. I'll take you to Seed 1. He's responsible for sending your people off Greed Island. Dvun is Hunter's author clone. Are these two guys responsible for sending irrelevant people off the island? They came to a dirty and messy room. The sloppy Uncle Dwan, who was supposed to be playing games, didn't play games this time. Instead, he looked at Rocky and Pyro with an apologetic look. Please sit down, please sit down. He asked Rocky and Pyro to sit down very enthusiastically. At the same time, he served tea and some snacks to the two. However, with the strange smell in this room, he didn't feel like eating for the time being. Rocky was a little disappointed. This guy looked flattering, as if he had done something wrong. Where did you send my people? Is it true that Leja said they are absolutely safe? Dwan, who was about to change the subject, touched his head and said with a smile, We sent them out, and they are absolutely safe. But what? Pyro put down the snack in his hand and looked at him nervously. But it may be troublesome for you to find your people. Rocky frowned. Why? Dwan glanced at Lister beside him. Lister sighed. When we saw your people before, we felt something was wrong, because their clothes looked like some kind of ethnic costumes, and they couldn't understand what they said. So in order to find out if they were saints, Dwan contacted an expert in this field. Expert? Rocky frowned. Who is the person who can understand ethnic minorities, let's say ethnic minorities, and can even be called an expert? Gene. Have you heard of freaks? Gene? Rocky suddenly stood up, his brain working frantically. This guy contacted Gene and asked Gene to send his people away. Gene is an expert in this area? It seems to be right. Gene is a relic hunter. That guy needs to have a very deep understanding of the history of various countries, as well as various little-known human geography and history, etc. It is right to say that he is an expert. Then what? Rocky asked. From Rocky's reaction, Ronky obviously knew that BD Gene. Gene is a relic hunter. I know. Where are my people? Rocky directly emphasized his question again. The one scratched his head. Gene said that the Kuruta people are a kind of relic in themselves, a wealth of the world. and must be well protected. No one can know to avoid accidents. After that, Jean told me that the Kuruta people were probably the last remaining Kuruta people. The reason they came to Greed Island was because they were attacked by Phantom Troops massacre. The Kuruta tribe was almost wiped out. Let me keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone about this. He will find a way to protect the last Kuruta people. Hearing this, Rocky was still emotionally stable. Then where are my people? I don't know. Dwan looked at Rocky embarrassedly. Pyro on the side said, "Can't you contact that guy again?" The guy called Jean. List was also very embarrassed. "I have contacted him, but Mr. Jean, I'm afraid I don't know where he is in the world at the moment, and I can't contact him at all. I was lucky to be able to contact him before." In other words, Rocky and Pyro's luck is not that good. But the good news is that the tribe should be safe, but the bad news is that the tribe still doesn't know where it is. Chapter 63. The journey of hunting gold. I really don't know what to say. The other party also means well, but this makes Rocky embarrassed. BB Carrot. Seeing Rocky not talking, Dwan and Lister became a little serious, and they didn't know what to say. Although their behavior was not good intentions, it was a bad thing for Rocky. Neither of them dared to look at Rocky directly. Pierrot on the side looked at Rocky now. What should we do? Looking at Dwan and Lister again, although Pierrot was also helpless in general, as long as the tribesmen were not in danger, it would be fine. But fortunately, the tribesmen are not in danger. Pierrot could only say this to comfort himself. Rocky suddenly said, "I must find the tribesmen. They're the people that the old man would risk his life to protect. Although they are safe now, protecting the Kuruta tribe is what I want to do for the old man. But we're not sure when we can contact that guy, Jean." The two scratched their heads. Lister even added, "The time to contact Mr. Jean is uncertain. If you're lucky, you can contact him at any time. If you are unlucky, it may take several years." Rocky knew what to say later. "Jean, the prodigal son of the Hunter Association. The difficulty of contacting Jean is no less than completing an S-level mission. At the same time, who knows if that idiot will not show up, because he thinks it is interesting for him to find him. There is no doubt that Jean will do such a thing. He will do it 100%. If Jean knew that there was a Kuruta tribe member like him looking for him, then he would most likely not show up directly. Jean is a very shy guy who is very eager to find trouble." Rocky sighed helplessly. "I will find the gold no matter what." Hearing Rocky's words, Dwan and Lister were stunned and looked at each other. Finding gold, that is a very difficult task. If Rocky can find a gold by his own strength, then he can be called a very powerful hunter. Dwan's expression became more serious at this moment. "Boy, what's your real name?" "Rocky." "Rocky boy, it's not that easy to find Jean." "Are you serious?" "Of course, I'm looking for him for my people. Do you think I would joke with my people?" Hearing Rocky's answer, Dwan and Lister both smiled. "But it's not that easy to find Mr. Jean." Lister said, "I know." Rocky glanced at Lister, then looked at Dwan. "Jean, the wanderer of the 12 branches of the Hunter Association. It's probably one of the most difficult tasks in the world to find Jean." The two didn't seem to expect Rocky to know so much. It seems that Rocky has really done a lot of homework. "Since you know, then we won't say much. I hope you can find Jean. If we have any news about Jean, we will contact you as much as possible." "No need." Rocky waved his hand. Although Rocky had no clue about finding Jean, since his people were safe, Rocky also wanted to challenge one of the most difficult tasks in the world. "I will find him myself. You don't have to offer any help to me." Seeing Rocky's expression, Dwan and Lister also smiled. "Hey, Rocky, have you ever thought about taking a hunter license exam?" Rocky was stunned for a moment. "I'm only 8 years old." "Oh, you're only 8 years old." Dwan nodded naturally, then turned his head and looked at Rocky with his mouth wide open. You're only 8 years old. You're 8 years old." Even Lister was stunned. Although Rocky was a little shorter, he should be around 10 years old. 8 years old? Too young. "Ah, I remember that the hunter test should be taken at the age of 12. Dwan's mouth twitched slightly, and he didn't know what to say. It was the first time he met a kid who couldn't take the hunter test because he was too young even though he had the ability. Sure enough, there are many monsters in this world. Dwan sighed, and then asked curiously, By the way, if you want to find Jean, where do you plan to start? Do you want me to provide you with some ideas? Not clues, but ideas. No need. Rocky thought for a while. Let's start from where Jean was born. Anyway, there should be some information about Jean in his hometown. Hearing this, both of them were obviously surprised by Rocky's idea. Is an 8-year-old kid so logical? What were they doing when they were 8 years old? Playing in the mud? Definitely not so logical thinking ability, and I have to say that Rocky's idea is very good. There are really clues about Jean in Jin's hometown. The two looked at each other silently, and they were a little curious about how long it would take for Jean to be caught by this perverted kid in the future. By the way, I want to get rid of one thing from you, and I want to ask Leja to do me a favor. Hearing this, Dwan and Lister were a little curious. What did Luoki want them to do for? Tell me. Rocky turned to look at Piro. I want to let Pai Luo stay on Greedy Island. I hope Leja can help teach Pai Luo how to practice Ki. At the same time, I hope you can help me protect Pai Luo. He is the only tribe member before I find Jean. I don't want him to encounter any danger. After hearing Rocky's words, both of them said that it was okay. Pai Luo on the side looked at Rocky. Rocky, don't you plan to take me with you? Hearing this, Rocky patted Pai Luo's shoulder. You want to protect the tribe members like me and become a warrior of the Kuruta tribe. You can grow the fastest on Greedy Island. This place is very suitable for training, you know, so you need to continue to practice here to improve your strength. When you can pass Leja's test, then you can leave Greedy Island and find me. Pai Luo's eyes began to moisten. After all, he is still a little kid, about the same age as Kurapika. After experiencing the great changes in the Kuruta tribe, Rocky is now Pai Luo's only relative. Pai Luo couldn't pretend to be strong when he had to say goodbye to Rocky. And I'm going to look for Kurapika. He must still be alive. When he heard Kurapika's name, Piro was stunned for a moment. That's right. Kurapika is likely still alive. After wiping away his tears, Piro clenched his fists and said, I know. I'm too weak now and can't help you at all. Don't worry, I will leave Greed Island to find you soon, pass the trial of Leja, and become a real warrior. I'll leave Kurapika and the tribe to you for the time being. Hearing this, Rocky smiled and said, Come on, Piro. Seeing that the two had finished talking, Dwan said, Since it's decided, do you want us to send you away from Greed Island? Rocky smiled and said, No, I know how to leave, and I also want to come back and try to conquer this game later. After all, the rewards for the pass seem to be pretty good. Hearing Rocky's words, both of them laughed. It's not difficult to conquer this game with Rocky's strength. You're welcome anytime. Dwan smiled. Chapter 64 Whale Island Jin's Other Child Greed Island. Rocky looked at the island, which was indeed a very suitable place for cultivation. There was no need to worry about all the daily necessities, convenient transportation, and all kinds of monsters that were extremely suitable for cultivation. Pyro, just send it here. You have to practice well, and I hope you can come to me as soon as possible. Hearing this, Pyro nodded. Don't worry, I won't hold you back, and you should also look for Kurapika later. That guy must not be dead. Kurapika certainly wouldn't die. Rocky smiled. Don't worry, I will. Rocky came to the port with the so-called ticket in his hand, and then turned into a stream of light and disappeared at the port. And Pyro looked at the direction where Rocky disappeared and turned back to look at the people behind him. Mr. Leja, please don't go easy on me. I want to get stronger as soon as possible. Otherwise, looking back at the direction Rocky left, I won't be able to catch up with that guy next time. Hearing this, Leja smiled. Don't worry. As long as you work hard, it won't. After leaving Greed Island, Rocky's next goal is Jin's hometown, which is Whale Island. Because this island looks like a whale, it is called Whale Island. The process of finding Whale Island was not easy. After all, it was just a small place that was not worth mentioning. It was not even known in which country it was located. After Rocky bought a map and determined the location of Whale Island, he rushed to Whale Island. 5 days later, Rocky finally boarded a ship to Whale Island and arrived at Whale Island. Rocky had only two purposes when he came to Whale Island. The first one was, of course, to find clues about Jean. Secondly, if Rocky remembered correctly, Kate had also been to Whale Island once in the original book. Rocky didn't care about Gone on Whale Island, but Kate. Because Kate just had the same purpose as Rocky. Looking for Jean. If he could meet Kate on Whale Island, he might be able to get some news about Jean from Kate. This is what Rocky thought. However, it was not certain whether he could meet her. It would be best if he could meet her. If he couldn't, Rocky would have other ways. If possible, Rocky also wanted to go to Gon's house to see what Jean left behind. Gon's box, of course, was not for the things inside the box, but to see the divine words left on the box. Jean can also carve some divine words. Rocky finds it very interesting. I don't know if Jin's divine words are the same as the inherited divine words of the Kuruta tribe. If they're the same, then Rocky has a more bold guess. Perhaps the divine words themselves are some kind of ancient civilization, but the inheritance has been interrupted. Originally, Rocky thought that the Kuruta tribe may have inherited part of it. And now Rocky thinks that the Kuruta tribe may have inherited more than just part of it. In what Dwan and Lister said before, Rocky caught a very interesting point. Jean said, the Kuruta tribe itself is a relic. This is intriguing. If someone else said it, it would be at most a description, but Jean wouldn't. Who is Jean? He is a professional relic hunter. In Jin's cognition, is the definition of ruins really that simple? He can say such a thing, so it is very likely that it is not a random description. But he found something from the Kuruta tribe. Thus, he defined the Kuruta tribe as ruins. Of course, it doesn't matter if Rocky guessed wrong. Anyway, Rocky is very interested in the word god that Jean has mastered. After arriving at Whale Island, Rocky got off the boat and learned about it briefly. And then he knew where the Mito family's tavern was. Arrived at the tavern, there was a woman cleaning the door. She looked quite old, but still beautiful. Rocky walked past her and entered the bar. Mito, who was cleaning, was stunned for a moment. Sorry, this place is not open yet. It will be in the afternoon. Mito was stunned for a moment. It was a little kid. Are you alone? Little boy, have you lost your parents? Mito put down the things in his hands and hurried over to check if Rocky was okay. I came here alone. Hearing Rocky's words, Mito squatted in front of Rocky. You are such a little kid. Why did you come here alone? You are not from here. Did you take the wrong boat and accidentally come to this island? No. Rocky climbed up the bar stool that was taller than him and sat like an adult. Give me a drink. Seeing Rocky's little adult style, Mito couldn't help laughing. You are a very brave child. You are not afraid of being lost alone. Then he went to the bar counter and poured Rocky a glass of juice and handed it to Rocky. Wait for me. If you sit here passively, I will call someone to come and see you and help you find your family. Find your family. Rocky looked at the juice in front of him and took a sip. You probably can't find the person I'm looking for. What's your parents' name? If you know the name, it will be much easier. What's your parents' name, kid? Kim. Kim. Mito dropped the rag in his hand and looked at Rocky in surprise. Kid, what did you say just now? Who did you say your parent is? I'm here to find Jean. This is his hometown, right? Mito looked at Rocky and his mouth twitched slightly. His thoughts were a little messy now. Kid, how old are you? 8 years old. 8 years old? Isn't that the same as Gon? No wonder that BD didn't even come back when Gon was born. So that's the case. So he was actually outside. Rocky didn't know what Mito was thinking, but now another small figure came in. Aunt Mito, I told you that I met. In the forest today, Gon, who was wearing a green dress, appeared in Rocky's sight while speaking. The two kids looked at each other. Gon was a little surprised. Who are you? How come I have never seen you before? Are you from outside? Faced with Gon's question, Rocky did not answer, but just looked at him. What did you say you encountered in the forest just now? Rocky's tone was oppressive, which frightened Gon, and he answered Rocky's question involuntarily. I met 10 very good brothers. He saved Kate. Rocky's eyes flickered. He didn't expect that he was so lucky to actually meet Kate. Jumping off the bench, Rocky walked directly out of the tavern. Before Gon could react, Rocky walked past him. Mito, who was behind, was feeling mixed emotions at the moment, but when he saw Rocky was about to run, he was about to chase him. Gon grabbed Mito. Aunt Mito, who is he? Watching Rocky disappear in the blink of an eye, Mito's face gradually darkened. Who is that kid? Humph. That guy Jean did such a good thing. He actually treated my sister like this. I'm going to go back and throw that BD's photo into the toilet. Mito chased out to find Rocky. Although Rocky is Jin's child with someone else, what Jin did has nothing to do with the child, and the other person ran so far to find his father. It's pitiful to think about it. It would be bad if something happened to the other person. Chapter 65, meeting Kate Hunter Road in the forest. Kate sat by the fire, feeling the wind of nature, and at the same time, she squinted at a fox bear cub not far away. This fox bear cub had actually fallen asleep. That boy is quite talented. While Kate was thinking, she suddenly felt a strange breath. She stood up instantly and pressed the knife on her waist with one hand, looking around vigilantly. At this time, the sleeping little fox bear raised his head and looked at Kate in confusion. Then he turned his head and changed his posture to continue sleeping. Kate walked forward, maintaining absolute vigilance, wondering whether she felt wrong just now, or if there was really someone. A hand appeared by the campfire, gently stroking the sleeping fox bear, and picked up the fox bear and put it in his arms. "Are you looking for me?" Suddenly Rocky's voice sounded, and almost instantly the knife light suddenly lit up. Kate turned around and drew her knife with both hands, staring at the people by the campfire. "Child." Looking at Rocky's figure made Kate stunned for a moment. It was just a child who could appear beside her silently, and the fox bear cub actually didn't resist at all and was held in the other's arms. Meet strange children twice in a row in one day. "Who are you?" Kate asked in a deep voice. Rocky put the little fox bear down. The awakened little fox bear wanted to crawl into Rocky's arms, and Pikey didn't care about it and let come. "I want to find Jean." Rocky directly stated his purpose, turning his head to look at Kate. But when Jin's name was mentioned, Kate's expression became more solemn. There are probably many people in this world who want to find Jean, but most of them are Mr. Jin's enemies. But is this kid in front of him the same? "I'm not Jean." "I know." Rocky looked at Kate. "Your name is Kate, and you are Jin's disciple." Knowing this information, Kate became more cautious about Rocky. "Don't worry. I'm not an enemy. If I were, I would have killed you just now." As Rocky said this, the full-on king's sword appeared beside Kate. The cold light flashing on the sword made Kate slightly stunned. When? Is this the weapon of the manipulator? It can actually be invisible. Snap! The full-on king's sword exploded like a crystal and then dissipated directly. Rocky also used this to show that he hated demons. In fact, he wanted to try it just now to see what level Kate is now, but it seems that Kate's ability has not been developed yet. Although she knows how to use none, she is not a master. At this moment, Kate was quite shocked. Rocky, such a little kid, actually has such a powerful nun. Even if the other party hadn't actively made the weapon visible, he might not have been able to find it. If Rocky attacks him, he will be seriously injured, if not killed instantly. "Who are you? Why are you looking for Mr. Jean?" Listening to Kate's question, Rocky waved his hand to signal Kate not to be so nervous. "I have no ill will towards you. I just want to try to find some clues about Jean through you." It's a long story. If you want to listen, come and sit down. Hearing this, Kate was silent for a few seconds, then put away her weapon and sat down on the other side of the campfire, looking at Rocky and saying, "Go ahead." Rocky smiled. This guy is quite vigilant. Simply told Kate what happened. "I didn't deliberately hide the matter of the Kuruta tribe. After all, Kate is not the kind of person who will casually tell secrets." Rocky looked serious the whole time, and he didn't seem to be lying. And when it comes to Greed Island, it doesn't seem like he was lying. "So you want to find Mr. Jean because you want to find your people." "That's right." Kate nodded. "But why do you want to find me again?" "Because as Jin's disciple, you may have clues about Jean." Kate smiled bitterly. "So far, I haven't found any clues about Mr. Jin's whereabouts. It's a mistake to find me." Rocky nodded. "Looking for you is just a try. It doesn't matter if you fail." Kate glanced at Rocky. "So what are you going to do next?" Rocky looked at Kate instead. "Why do I feel like you seem to have a clue about finding Jean? Can you tell me about it?" Kate was stunned when she heard this. Although Kate didn't find any clues about Jean when she came to Jin's hometown, she accidentally remembered something and felt that there might be a chance to find Jean. But how did Rocky feel it? "I just have a general feeling that maybe there are clues about Mr. Jean in that place." "But," Kate looked up at Rocky. Rocky understood. "But if it's not enough, tell me." Kate nodded. Okay, then I'll think of another way. Rocky stood up and prepared to leave. And Rocky didn't look like he was pretending. Could this guy really give up the clues? Kate didn't speak until Rocky was about to disappear. Hey, what's your name? Rocky turned around. Rocky, are you really not interested in the fact that I might have clues to Mr. Jean? According to what you said, aren't you eager to find your people? Rocky smiled and said, maybe I can find Jean by following you, but I think I have a faster way, so it doesn't matter whether I know or not. This answer made Kate silent. Rocky saw that he had nothing to say and prepared to leave. But Kate spoke again. You have the potential to become a hunter. Have you ever thought about becoming a hunter? The sudden question made Rocky stunned. He had never thought about this. Finding Mr. Jean is an extremely difficult task in itself. And you could have followed me to find Jean, but you chose to use your own method. People like you are simply born hunters. Take the hunter exam. I feel that you will become a hunter as good as Mr. Jean. Kate paused and said, take the hunter exam. Maybe you can also get more information and clues about Mr. Jean. This hint gave Rocky some new ideas. I'll consider it. Thank you. After leaving Kate's camp, Rocky also found a place on Whale Island and set up a simple camp. Find Jean, relying on ordinary means. I'm afraid I don't know how long it will take to find it. 1 year? Or 2 years? It's possible. And Kate just gave a direction. The person who is most likely to have clues about Jin's location is Netero, the president of the Hunter Association. After all, Jin is a member of the 12 earthly branches. What are the 12 earthly branches used for? An organization that assists President Netero in handling the affairs of the association. So if Netero is found, maybe some clues about Jin can be obtained. But this is the conventional method. Rocky wants to use a more direct method. Use the ability to find the gold. Compared to relying on clues, Rocky thinks the ability is simpler and more crude. Chapter 66. The Flying King's Bow and 3 types of arrows develop abilities to track designated people. This idea did not come by chance, nor was it a sudden thought of Rocky. Speaking of this idea, it was the feeling that Rocky had when he first entered Greedy Island and used the companion. Even when he was expelled by Leja for the first time and left Greedy Island, Rocky had a strange feeling. It seemed that a new word emerged in his mind, or a totem. And this totem became clearer and clearer when Rocky entered Greedy Island and used the companion, magnetic force, and other spell cards to a certain place many times. Now, after a conversation with Kate, Rocky felt that the strange words in his mind seemed to be more obvious. At this moment, when Rocky determined that he wanted to develop a new ability that could be used to guide the direction or track someone, a brand new weapon automatically emerged in his mind. 463. This kind of sudden flash of feeling, Luo Qi will not let go. It seems that Qi is actively guiding Rocky to develop new weapons. The development of abilities is often a sudden flash of inspiration. It is not what you think of, but your thoughts are guiding you to develop. However, the ability development this time will not be so simple. It may take a long time. Rocky feels that there are 2 things to do before the new weapon is formally materialized. The first thing is to make a bow. The second thing is to practice his archery. Rocky does not plan to complete these 2 things quickly. He does not plan to use any restrictions or oaths this time. Since it is guided by the mind, he will calm down and follow his feelings. On the first day, the bow and arrow were made. It was a simple rough wooden bow. The arrow was also very simple. The wooden strips found in the forest were sharpened at the front, and a few feathers were inserted at the tail. The simple wooden arrow was ready. The process of practicing archery was relatively long. For the next 10 days, Rocky was immersed in the feeling of archery. At first, it was just simple archery without any other feeling. But when Rocky began to practice the mind synchronously, the amount of mind energy continued to increase, and a subtle feeling began to appear. Looking at the arrow, an ordinary wooden arrow can easily penetrate several consecutive trees by injecting energy. Even with Rocky's enhancer ability, even stones can be easily broken, as fragile as tofu. A month later, Rocky has been on Whale Island for such a long time, but Rocky himself doesn't feel anything. He just practices none every day and immerses himself in bow and arrow shooting practice. This lasted for several months. Kate had left Whale Island long ago, and Rocky was practicing in the forest, and Gon had noticed it. An accidental encounter, Gon didn't talk to Rocky, but just looked at Rocky silently, and the look he gave Rocky was also strange. It seemed that his expression was very complicated. Rocky didn't care, and when Gon came to find Rocky again the next day, Rocky had moved the camp. Now Rocky doesn't want to be disturbed by anything. Once affected by other things, Rocky feels that this feeling may disappear and the development of new weapons may be interrupted. So at this time, no matter what happens, Rocky doesn't want it to affect him. After finding a more secret place, continue to practice. As time went by, Rocky didn't know how much his energy had increased, but he was making progress every day. The sense of fulfillment brought by the daily increase in energy made Rocky completely forget the passage of time. Half a year had passed without him noticing, and at this time Rocky had already noticed a change in his archery. The arrows injected with energy were not only very powerful, but also automatically deflected. Attack the target Rocky wants to attack. At this moment, the mysterious pattern or text in Rocky's mind became clearer. The last part was also completely clear. The time has come. Rocky immediately put down the attack in his hand that was almost worn out and hid directly in a cave in the cliff. Start to materialize the new weapon. This new weapon, Flying King Bow. This is the name Rocky gave it. Of course, the name comes from the world of Final Fantasy, but the shape and ability of this bow are completely different. The bow with the word New God engraved on it appeared. It is also a weapon condensed from white crystals. I'm afraid that others will not regard this thing as a bow at first glance. Instead, they will think that this is a peculiar spear-type weapon, or a spear that can attack the enemy at both ends. Because Rocky's Flying King bow is shaped like the Quincy bow used by the Quincy in the world of death. It's like the Hunter World version of the Silver Ridge Arc Bird exterminating bow. The main body of the bow is composed of intersecting long and short crosses and octagonal shapes, flowing with white light and faintly revealing silver light. There are no arrows, but the mind energy is Rocky's arrow. Raise your hand, pull the bowstring that does not exist at all, and an arrow formed by the mind energy appears. The arrow flashing with silver-white light instantly shot out. The arrow shot towards the sea surface, turned into a silver-white stream of light, and instantly left a track on the sea surface. Release your hand, and the fourth weapon automatically floats in front of Rocky, and then the other three weapons also appear around Rocky. Xian Wang's sword, Yiksha King's sword, Fulong King's sword, Fei Wang Bao. The four weapons turned into crystals and made a dingling sound from time to time, rotating around Rocky. In the following time, Rocky sat cross-legged and practiced ki. At the same time, most of the ki was injected into the Fei Wang Bao. The ability was formed unconsciously. The Fei Wang Bao can shoot 4 different arrows. The first one is what Rocky wants. The guiding arrow can guide Rocky to find any person or thing. Of course, it is not that you can find it directly by just thinking of something. The more information you have, the higher the success rate of the guiding arrow. On the contrary, if there is no information, the success rate is only 1%. In this case, it is impossible to succeed unless you are very lucky. The arrow that must hit when holding the Fei Wang Bao, anything Rocky touches with his right hand can be marked. Up to 3 targets can be marked. No matter how far, at what angle, and no matter how the opponent dodges, the arrow will definitely hit. The reason why he can have this ability is that when holding the Fei Wang Bao, all of Rocky's energy will be gathered on the Fei Wang Bao. It is quite risky to approach the enemy in this situation. The risk is high. Of course, the benefits are also high. The arrow of extinction, like ordinary bows and arrows, can be used for ordinary attacks, but you can choose to consume blood power to enhance the power of the arrow. The power of the mind energy itself is not enough. The power of the arrow can be enhanced by consuming the power of the blood. The power of the arrow shot out is not just a matter of 1 + 1. It is a surge in power. The last type of arrow is naturally an ordinary mind energy arrow. There is nothing to say. Rocky opened his eyes. New weapon, the Flying King's Bow. Completed. It took 6 months and 17 days. Chapter 67, The Floating Shadows of the Four Phantom Swords. Now, you can start looking for Jin. Rocky knows Jin's information. Although it is difficult to get Jin's information in this world, Rocky still knows a little bit. He knows a lot about his age, birthplace, name, and job position. Knowing this information, Rocky estimates that the probability of finding Jin is about 50%. If you want to improve the accuracy, it will be even easier. Get information about Jin's appearance or find things Jin used. These 2 points are also easy. They are on Whale Island. Kin's photos and things Jin used. Rocky stood up and stretched his muscles a little. After all, he had been sitting for so long. If it weren't for Rocky's strong physique, he would have starved to death. Even with his strong physique and none, Rocky still felt hungry. He came to the entrance of the cave, jumped out of the cave halfway up the cliff, and plunged directly into the sea. But at the moment of falling into the water, Rocky suddenly frowned, because the 4 weapons that had been hidden around him were slightly visible at this moment. At the moment of entering the water, Rocky felt a buoyancy. It was not the buoyancy provided by the sea water, but seemed to come from the floating power provided by these 4 weapons. I don't know if it's an illusion. A sea fish in front of him was frightened and was fleeing quickly. Rocky waved his hand lightly, and the sword of the wise king flew out and stabbed the fish to death, and flew back to Rocky with the fish stabbed in it. Go ashore. Rocky set up a fire and roasted the fish. He turned around and studied his 4 weapons. The moment I entered the water, that weak buoyancy was my illusion. The 4 weapons appeared at the same time, in a crystal state, and were not fully materialized. Rocky jumped up lightly, trying to simulate the scene of the slight buoyancy just now. But this time there was no movement. Injecting his own air into the 4 weapons. Rocky clearly felt a force lifting him up with the injection of air. Although he was not able to completely lift himself up, as the amount of air injected increased, Rocky's body floated up directly. It felt like the 4 weapons each had a rope, which was faintly pulling Rocky in the crystal state. It made Rocky's body fly up. He tried to increase the input of air and control the 4 weapons to fly. Sure enough, the next second Rocky's body also flew up. Rocky's face showed surprise. He didn't expect that the addition of the Phantom Sword could have such an effect. He could fly. Although the flying speed was not too fast, Rocky increased the output of his mind energy, and the flying speed increased again. Rocky shuttled back and forth in the sky, but the flying speed was still not too fast. Suddenly, Rocky thought of using the marking ability to assassinate, and his body seemed to be able to enter a state similar to crystal. What if it was that state? Would the flying speed increase? He tried to enter this state, but for a while he couldn't do it. While keeping the Phantom Sword in a crystal state, Rocky himself also entered an illusory state. I feel it, but I still feel like I'm still a little short of power. Try to turn on the red eyes. When the fiery red eyes turned on, Rocky's figure began to turn into a white shadow that flashed from time to time. Swish! Rushing into the sky, a trail formed by a combination of white light and smoke appeared behind Rocky, but it quickly dissipated. However, this time the speed of movement was so fast that although it was impossible to reach the speed of light, Rocky felt that it was absolutely possible to exceed the speed of sound. But it seemed that he couldn't attack in this state. It is necessary to switch back to the physical state. At the same time, the weapon does not have any attack power because it remains in a crystal state. New ability, and it is the ability to fly, which makes Rocky very happy. This is flying, the ability that humans dream of having. Now that I have mastered it, although this flying ability does not have the ability to attack, I can switch to the physical state. However, the flying speed of the physical state is very slow. After playing for more than 10 minutes, Rocky fell from the sky, and the air consumed by flying was still amazing. However, flying for more than 10 minutes was just a little tiring. It is estimated that Rocky can last for nearly an hour in this state. As the strength is improved through future practice, the time will continue to increase. Of course, if you switch to the physical state to fly, I am afraid that more air will be consumed and the flying time will be much shorter. However, Such consumption is nothing to Rocky. As long as he continues to strengthen his practice, he can use flying and other things at will. Since it is an ability, it must have a name. Let's call it Floating Shadow. Rocky clapped his hands. This name is very good. Ability, Floating Shadow. Effect, flying, divided into physical flight and phantom flight. The former can fight while flying, while the latter can only fly. However, there is a huge difference in the flying speed of the two. The former can reach 40 kilometers per hour, while the latter can exceed the speed of sound. Rocky picked up the grilled fish, his eyes flashing. In the future, as my ability becomes stronger and stronger, when I have more than a dozen phantom swords, I may be able to directly activate super powerful special moves. Really, phantom sword. Thinking of the dazzling attacks in the Final Fantasy world, Rocky doesn't even need to do it. Execute the enemy directly from a distance. That kind of ability is really cool. Finish the grilled fish. Rocky is almost rested and feels much better after eating. The feeling of hunger faded, and Rocky also felt that his condition was much better. He jumped up and turned into a phantom in an instant, flashing into the sky and disappeared. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at Gon's retainer. 327 Rocky stood in the bedroom and looked at the photo of Jean placed on it. After looking at the photo, Rocky turned into a white light again and left directly from the window. Outdoors, Gon was sitting on a tree preparing to fish when suddenly a white light flashed in front of him, followed by countless crystals floating in the air to form Rocky's figure. Seeing Rocky suddenly appear, Gon was stunned. You are. I've seen you before, gang freaks. Gon looked at Rocky in surprise, his eyes sparkling with stars. How did you do this? Rocky smiled at this question. You'll know after becoming a hunter. I want to borrow something from you. What? Rocky raised his hand and pointed at the fishing rod in Gon's hand. Can you give me a piece of fishing line? This fishing rod was once used by Jean. Finding something used by Jean, only a part is enough, and it does not mean that Rocky needs to take the whole fishing rod away. Gon was stunned for a moment. He did not expect Rocky to make such a request. But a piece of fishing line is not a big deal. Okay, but I want to know. Answer me a question. Go ahead. Rocky looked at Gon. Are you here to find Jean? Rocky nodded. Yes. BBR. One question, I've answered it. Give me the fishing line. Chapter 68, an unexpected encounter with Jin's location, although he still wanted to say something. Gon felt that he should keep his word. It seemed that he had only asked one question just now, and the other party did not need to answer the second question. He tore off a piece of fishing line from the fishing rod and handed it to Rocky. Gon looked at Rocky and said, Can I ask you another question? Hee. Rocky smiled faintly and said, Okay, I can answer one question for you next time we meet. Gon was about to ask, Is the other party going to leave next time they meet? But before he could ask, Rocky had disappeared and countless broken crystals appeared in front of him. A white shadow rushed straight into the sky. It disappeared in an instant. Gon stretched out his hand, but he couldn't catch anything. He could only look at the direction of departure with a helpless look on his face. Mother-in-law heard Aunt Mito say that the man was Jin's child outside, and I don't know if it's true. If Rocky knew that Gon would make such a mistake, then Rocky would probably be quite speechless. How did he become the son of Jin? In the air, Rocky floated briefly, and at the same time, he grabbed the Flying King's bow with one hand and pulled the string with his right hand. A white light flashed and turned into an arrow. It kept flashing on the Flying King's bow. Guiding arrow, go! Swoosh! The arrow flew out. The next second, a quick backshot shot directly through Rocky's body and flew quickly to the back. Although the guiding arrow disappeared in the blink of an eye, but Rocky could still feel the direction of the arrow. Instantly, 4 phantom swords appeared. Rocky's body turned into a phantom and flew in the direction of the guiding arrow. Soon, he caught up with the guiding arrow. A white light flashed quickly in the sky. Leaving Whale Island, less than 10 seconds later, Rocky looked back and saw that Whale Island had turned into a small black dot, and it was almost invisible. Following the guiding arrow. Soon, more than 10 minutes later, Rocky saw land. Rocky grabbed the guidance arrow that was still flying in the air and fell directly to the ground. During this process, the guidance arrow, which was supposed to be a collection of mind energy, turned into a crystal state under Rocky's use. It even seemed that the size could be controlled. This is a hidden ability, but what's the use of it? Easy to carry? Rocky frowned. Since it is in a crystal state, maybe it can be kept by your side. Rocky let go of the crystal, and it broke and directly merged into Rocky's surroundings. Like other phantom swords, it began to rotate around Rocky. The direction pointed by the guidance arrow is always the same direction. It seems that even if it is integrated into his own phantom sword, its ability is still working. It guides Rocky in the direction. This is more convenient, and there is no need to worry about not catching up with the guidance arrow and losing the direction. Rocky bought a small backpack in the town and bought some things that might be used, such as food, drinks, and an engineer's shovel. Then put on a huge white cloak. Rocky's entire body, including his head, was wrapped tightly. After doing all this, he came to a deserted place outside the town, and Luo Zhou disappeared again. A faint white light appeared in the sky, which was hard to spot unless you looked carefully or were not a nun. Passing over mountains, Rocky didn't know how far he had flown, but from the map he carried with him, he should have flown over several countries. The speed of the floating shadow was indeed fast. Suddenly, an airship appeared in front of him. Airships are a very common means of transportation in this world, so there is nothing strange about it. But Rocky saw the logo on the airship. BB, Hunter Association, the airship with the Hunter Association logo. Is this airship from the Hunter Association? Rocky, while thinking, he quickly passed by the airship. And at the moment of passing by, Rocky saw a person looking out the window through the window of the airship. When the eyes met, Rocky was slightly stunned. Netero, the president of the Hunter Association. I didn't expect to have such an encounter, but Rocky didn't stop. Although he met the president of the Hunter Association, there was no reason for Rocky to stop. Continue flying. At this moment, Netero on the airship picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. A naughty smile. The young people nowadays are really amazing. Rocky, who was wearing a cloak, couldn't see his face and figure clearly, but from Rocky's energetic aura, he could roughly guess his age. 12, maybe younger. I really can't refuse to admit my age. Netero smiled. Although the feeling of mind is not as warm as the sun, it is cool in the cold. This means that at least he is not a child with evil intentions. This is just an accidental episode. On the other side, after flying for a full 40 minutes, Rocky finally stopped to rest. After resting for 30 minutes, when his mind energy was almost restored, he continued to move towards the direction of gold. This time, Rocky's flight time broke through 50 minutes. Visible progress. Every time the mind energy is exhausted, Rocky seems to be able to recover more energy when he recovers again. This is the abnormal ability of the top talent owner. After going back and forth 3 or 4 times, Rocky's continuous flying time should be about 3 hours in total. Basically, it can be said that he flew from the easternmost to the westernmost of a continent, across the entire continent. At this time, the guiding arrow finally changed direction. It means that it is not far from the location of gold. The guiding arrow in the crystal state began to crack when it came here. As Rocky approached a certain direction, the cracks became more and more. It seems that the guiding arrow will completely disappear after finding the target. This is also good. Rocky can determine which direction is the right one based on whether the guidance arrow is broken. After reaching the approximate range, the guidance arrow will no longer provide accurate location information. But with the reminder of the broken arrow, it is not difficult to find Jin's exact location. Rocky can even directly activate the circle to find it. But that would be too blatant. It would be bad if that guy noticed and ran away. Good thing. In a desolate mountain, there is basically no one here. Rocky looked at a big mountain in front of him. There is a cave right in front of him. There are traces of camps on both sides of the cave. Judging from the size of the camp, it should be a small camp for 1 or 2 people. Jin should have stayed here before. Enter the cave. Rocky felt something was wrong as soon as he came in. There is a stone statue at the entrance of the cave. Although the stone statue has been eroded by the years and is in tatters, you can still see its former outline. As he went deeper into the cave, the dark guidance arrow also broke into 3 pieces when Rocky came to a corner Bang! The guidance arrow turned into countless crystal fragments and dissipated. This means that the gold has been found. Turning the corner, candlelight appears in front of Rocky. Unexpectedly, there is something else inside the cave. This is a huge space, a place similar to a temple that was artificially excavated. Chapter 69, Sudden Battle Extreme Control. Rocky was looking around, but he didn't see Jean at all. The guidance arrow had been broken, so Jean should be here. Although Rocky didn't think about how far the guidance arrow would take him when he was developing his ability. But the error shouldn't be too big. In other words, the target should be within his field of vision. Swoosh! A vortex suddenly appeared in the air. In the blind spot of Rocky's vision, a fist was rapidly hitting Rocky's head. Suddenly, Rocky's eyes shrank, and a strong sense of crisis came over him. At the same time, a strong wave of mental energy suddenly erupted. This is hidden. Not good. Snap! Suddenly, the crystal exploded, turning into countless white fragments floating in the air. The powerful impact made Rocky fly horizontally more than 10 meters away and directly came to the center of the temple. The strong wind caused by Rocky's flying directly extinguished the only candle. Without the light source, the white light emitted by Rocky's weapon was even more dazzling. Hey! A figure appeared in the darkness under the light of Rocky's phantom sword. Rocky frowned, looking at the 3 phantom swords rotating around him. The attack just now actually broke one of my phantom swords. But it was just broken. It seems that I can still use it. It just takes time to condense again, and the reunion time is about 1 minute. When this ability was developed, the phantom sword was set to be able to resist attacks. But Rocky didn't expect that someone could break one of his phantom swords with 1 strike. If he continued at this frequency, he would be attacked by the opponent at most 4 times. Then all the phantom swords would be broken. Rocky raised his hand and grabbed the Fulong King sword. The one that was broken just now was the Xianwang sword. In this case, the most ideal choice is the Xianwang sword. The narrow space is not conducive to the use of other weapons. But there is no other way. Rocky took out the Fulong King sword, and the remaining Yasha King sword and Feiwang Bao rotated around Lucci in a crystal state. The Black Shadow who saw this scene also had a slight light in his eyes. Manipulator. This ability is interesting. Suddenly Rocky split the Fulong King sword into 4, 2 in each hand like short weapons. Weapons can also transform. While the Black Shadow was thinking, suddenly Rocky threw a weapon at him fiercely from a distance. The speed was extremely fast. It was even faster than a bullet. As the Black Shadow dodged, the ki on his body suddenly burst out. Without any concealment at all, the dazzling light of the mind energy instantly illuminated the entire temple. Crack! The ground suddenly sank into a huge pit, and the strong wind instantly hit Rocky's face. Feeling the pressure of the wind, he didn't even have time to see the other party's figure clearly. Rocky's figure exploded instantly, turning into countless crystals and dissipating. The Black Shadow who was swinging his fist stopped in a hurry, and suddenly turned around to look at Rocky, who suddenly appeared behind him. A swish. 2 Fulong Wang swords were thrown. One on the left and one on the right crossed to form 2 arcs, and they rotated rapidly in the air as if forming a sharp arc. The Black Shadow jumped up and the Fulong Wang sword swept past, instantly cutting off a pillar of the temple behind. The terrifying power made the Black Shadow slightly stunned. However, at the moment when the Fulong King sword cut off the pillar, Rocky appeared next to the pillar again. While rotating at high speed, he threw out 2 Fulong King swords at the same time, forming an arc-shaped attack route again. At the same time, 2 Fulong King swords attacked the Black Shadow from 2 different angles at the previous position. The 4 swords now attack from 4 angles almost at the same time. By the way, the Black Shadow's route was completely blocked. There's no place to leverage in the air. Now it depends on where you hide. While Rocky was thinking, the Black Shadow threw 3 groups of mine bombs in the air in an exaggerated manner. Although the power of the mine bombs was not very good because they were used in a hurry, it changed the trajectory of the 3 Fulong King swords. He directly avoided the attack, and the remaining Fulong King sword cut the opponent's clothes against his chest and flew towards the ceiling of the temple. BHDG. However, at this moment, Rocky's figure instantly dissipated in the 10 moments of the color crystal explosion. 3 white shadows appeared almost at the same time, throwing the 3 Fulong Wang swords that had been changed in trajectory again. At the same time, Rocky also grabbed the Fulong Wang sword on the ceiling, and a mental energy gathered suddenly and turned into a straight light and shot towards the top of the Black Shadow's head. As soon as the Black Shadow landed and raised his head, he saw Rocky on the ceiling. Umph! The other party snorted coldly and seemed a little unhappy. Facing the attack, he did not choose to dodge, but jumped straight towards Rocky. A violent kick directly stepped on the ground, and the powerful force pushed the Black Shadow, and it instantly passed through Rocky's 3 swords and punched the 4th Fulong Wang sword that attacked from the front. Mind energy gathered on the fist. The power of the mind that was condensed in an instant completely exceeded the energy that Rocky gathered on this Fulong Wang sword. The other party seemed to recognize this point, knowing that he had enough to fight and had no worries at all. Rocky's eyes shrank slightly. Fiery red eyes opened. The hand grabbed the void and appeared directly on the 4th Fulong Wang sword, and the mental energy poured in crazily. Rocky appeared at the moment of collision with the Black Shadow's mind. Looking at the suddenly appeared Rocky, the Black Shadow's expression was only a moment of doubt, but immediately his eyes became firm. Both of them understood each other's thoughts. This attack was a competition of mind. Whoever has stronger mind will win. Of course, Rocky, who was holding a weapon, had a little more advantage. The moment the 2 minds collided, the entire temple suddenly shook, and the invisible shock wave caused cracks on the surrounding walls. Seeing the cracks, the Black Shadow's expression was a little distressed. The next second, the other 3 swords flew from all directions, gathered in Rocky's hands in an instant, and reformed a complete Fulong Wang sword, and began to rotate at high speed. Like a gear, the mind gathered in the center. The 2 minds continued to collide with each other, and sparks burst out. After seeing the other's face clearly, Rocky looked as if it was just as he expected. This guy is Jean. Jean was also stunned, because the little ghost in front of him was the one described by Lei Jia. Break it for me. Rocky mobilized all his thoughts and injected them into the Fulong King sword. But at this moment, Jean was sweating coldly, not because he felt he was going to lose, but because there was no need to do it. He thought Rocky was someone who came to steal the ruins, but now it was a misunderstanding. This kid is a member of the Kuruta tribe. Kid, stop. Misunderstanding. Hearing this, Rocky's eyes shrank slightly, and at this moment the attack had already been launched, and it was impossible to take it back. Crack! The Fulong King sword, which penetrated from top to bottom to the ground, maintained a high-speed rotation posture and rose directly into the ground for nearly 100 meters in an instant before slowly stopping. Rocky, who was falling from the sky, looked at Jean, who was also in a state of lingering fear. Rocky smiled faintly. Fortunately, he changed his direction a little at the last moment. At the same time, Jean was really amazing and actually blocked it. Not only did he block it, but he also cleverly adjusted his posture slightly to change the direction of the burst of his mind energy, thus instantly deflecting his Fulong Wang sword. This control of mind is indeed a bit abnormal. Chapter 70, The Whereabouts of the Tribe Members, Jin's Invitation. It was a close call. You almost killed me. I told you to stop, but you didn't stop. Jean looked at Rocky in a speechless manner. Rocky raised his hand, and the Fulong Wang sword that was deep in the ground instantly flew out from the ground and came to Rocky and kept spinning. Don't, stop, cease fire, stop fighting. We have no reason to continue fighting. Rocky was also very clear about this, put away the Fulong Wang sword, and then looked at Jean to listen to what he had to say. Seeing Rocky stop, Jean was relieved and sat down without any image. You are the kid who broke into Greed Island before. You're also a member of the Kuruta tribe. Rocky nodded and said yes. That's amazing. How did you find me? Rocky didn't intend to answer this question, You can find me if you want to. Gene smiled. He thought he had concealed his whereabouts very well, and the kid in front of him could actually find him. So it seems that the method he used was not a conventional method. Ability? Great. You have been to Whale Island, right? Rocky was slightly stunned. Can this be guessed? I have been there. Sure enough, you shouldn't leave anything behind. Once you leave something behind, it should be easy for you guys with tracking ability to meet the tracking conditions. As expected of one of the top 5 none in the world, he knows none too well. Is it so easy to guess the conditions for using your ability? Yes, this is not a difficult thing. Anyone with a little experience can probably think of it. But Gene gave Rocky the feeling that he saw through it. But what I'm curious about is, what did you use to track me? Since the conversation has come to this, Rocky casually threw out a piece of fishing line. Catch the piece of fishing line thrown by Rocky. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. You have also seen my son, right? How do you know? I guessed. This is the fishing line used by the fishing rod I used before. I left that thing on Whale Island. Now it should be used by my son. Yeah. Gene nodded. Although he did not look surprised on the surface, he was actually quite shocked in his heart. It is precisely because he understands the ability and knows that the tracking ability usually needs to meet 4 to 5 conditions to accurately find the target to be tracked. And Rocky found him directly with a piece of fishing line. If this abnormal ability is used to track people, I am afraid that no one in this world can escape. Such abnormal ability worthy to join the group. Gene looked at Rocky and said, "You are looking for me for your people?" "Yes, where are they?" "NGL Autonomous Country." Gene directly said the location, which made Rocky stunned. He thought Gene was going to beat around the bush with him. Wait, NGL? That's not the Chimera Ants. What does Gene mean? No, the Chimera Ants haven't appeared yet. NGL is a place that has no connection with the outside world. Of course, the underground organization is actually connected with the outside world. But the connection between this country and the outside world is basically the minimum. From another perspective, it can prevent anyone from discovering the Kuruta people. The people in that country live a primitive farming life, which is just right for the Kuruta people. Even if someone finds the abnormality of the Kuruta people because there is no communication equipment, the speed of news transmission is also very limited, and even wearing clothes will be regarded as a story. It seems to be a good place to hide the Kuruta people. Rocky's face changed rapidly and then calmed down. From Rocky's expression, Gene also roughly knew that Rocky might have known about NGL, but he was worried and angry at first, and then agreed and relieved. What was this kid thinking? Why don't you think it's a good place? It's a good place. Rocky looked up, at least now. Hearing this, Gene frowned. What does it mean? What do you mean now? Will there be any problems after NGL? Thank you for taking care of my people. After saying that, Rocky seemed to be about to leave, which made Gene a little anxious. Rocky's tracking ability is so strong that he can't let it go like this, and his combat power is also very strong. As a manipulator, how can such a talent be let go like this? Boy, wait. Rocky looked back at Gene. Anything else? There's a place I want to go, but I can't go for the time being. But if I can go there one day, I want to invite you to go with me. Want to go but can't? Dark Continent. For words emerged in Rocky's mind. Inviting me to join you because you are impressed by my ability? Sure, if I am free then. By the way, your ability is not only for finding people. Gene looked at Rocky with some expectation. Rocky nodded and said, I can find whatever I want, as long as I have enough information. Gene was stunned for a moment. What does information mean? Any information will do, as long as there is enough. Any information. These 4 words were too powerful for Gene. After hearing the previous words, I thought that Rocky would need to meet many conditions in the end, but after hearing the latter, Gene understood instantly. Perhaps Rocky needs many conditions to activate the tracking ability, but any condition will do. This means that the effects of difficult and simple conditions are the same, as long as the number is enough. Then, this ability is indeed very abnormal. Are the development abilities of young people nowadays so terrifying? Gene shook his head. Oh, and Rocky said that if there's nothing else, he would leave first. At this moment, Jean suddenly said, "Wait, since you are here, are you interested in exploring this temple with me?" Explore the temple. I'm not interested in the ruins. Seeing this, Jean suddenly took out a dagger and cut a wound on his palm. If you're not interested in the ruins, then what about none? Suddenly, various light spots appeared on the walls around him, and these light spots seemed to be pulling some kind of power invisibly, allowing the wound on Jin's palm to heal slowly. Although the healing speed was not too fast, it was already visible to the naked eye. Rocky frowned and stared at Jin's wound carefully. Almost as soon as the surroundings changed, Rocky had already used condensation. Seeing Rocky's reaction speed was so fast, it was obvious that Nun's basic training was very solid. More satisfied. Now, are you still not interested in the ruins? Rocky looked up at Jean and was now quite interested. The ruins seemed to be not as simple as the ancient buildings he understood. This world had thoughts, and the purpose of the ruins was likely to preserve the thoughts of the ancients. I've studied these murals for 3 months, and I still don't understand why this temple can automatically heal wounds. It's not just the wounds. My body only feels a little hungry after 15 days here. In other words, it seems that the normal daily consumption of the human body has been extended to nearly 2 months. As Jean spoke, his face had changed, and the joy of showing off his discovery to others appeared on his face. Chapter 71. Excavating the Ruins, New Hunter. How is it? Amazing, isn't it? Although Jean is an old man, his attitude towards Rocky is just like that of a child. Rocky nodded. It is indeed amazing. Speaking of this, Rocky turned his head to look at the mysterious pictures carved on the wall. These ancient murals are usually relatively abstract, and ordinary people can't see the reason at all and can only roughly appreciate part of them. But in Rocky's eyes, it is completely different. At first glance, it seems that there is nothing, but when he looks again, Rocky can vaguely see the traces left after the airflow. These traces of residues are woven and intersected into a huge net. The formation of the net gradually forms a strange pattern, but this is only a part of it, and a large part has not been fully revealed. Rocky was fascinated, and Jean on the side did not disturb him, but looked at Rocky with interest. Sitting cross-legged on the ground and quietly waiting for Rocky, time passed quickly, especially in this dark temple. The candlelight had long been burned out, but even in a pitch-dark environment, it was the same for Rocky because he didn't need light to see the murals, but could directly see the remaining tracks of the mind energy. These tracks kept appearing and disappearing quickly, with only a small part appearing each time. That's what Rocky saw. For a long time, Rocky came back to his senses and looked at Jean, who was making something in the corner, and asked, "How long have I been watching?" Jean turned around and looked at Rocky when he heard the voice. "About 3 days. EX. It felt like just a moment, but 3 whole days had passed. Rocky felt a little incredible, as if he had completely forgotten the time. The feeling of being fully engaged is really good. Why didn't you call me? Jin's explanation is very simple. Why should I call you? Maybe this place belongs to you. Wouldn't it be better if you can find secrets that I can't find? Wait until you figure out what you found. If it's convenient, I hope you can tell me." Rocky frowned. "Can't you see those remaining tracks?" Sure enough, Jin's eyes lit up. "You really saw something I couldn't see." "You can't see?" Although I can vaguely feel it, it's just a feeling. I can't see anything at all. I've been here for a long time, but I still have nothing to gain." Jean smiled and looked at Rocky. "You are different. Since you can find more things as soon as you come here, it means that this place may have something to do with you." To be precise, Jean guessed that this place may be related to the Kuruta tribe. The reason why he found this place was because he became interested in the Kuruta tribe after contacting them. He looked up some information and found this place by accident. Now that Rocky has come and found more things, it means that this place may indeed have been built by the ancient Kuruta people. "What are you doing?" Jean glanced at the thing in his hand. "Oh, this. I'm going to signal the people outside that the excavation of the ruins is about to begin. I have explored this place almost completely, and basically all the dangerous areas have been checked out. Now, let people come in to do the excavation work. Then there will basically be no danger. Just avoid certain areas. Rocky only noticed at this time that there are several gates around, which were closed before, but now they are completely open. Jean has completely explored this ruins in 3 days. Worthy of being a ruins hunter, Rocky lowered his head and thought for a few seconds. Can I participate in the excavation of this ruins? Of course. Jean did not hesitate at all. Thank you. No need. Although you don't look like a relic hunter, you are very serious when hunting. Hunting? I'll ask you for another favor. Can you help me send a letter to NGL? I'll go find my people after the excavation work here is completed. Jean didn't agree to this request immediately, but thought about it and said, I think it's better to go back in person. It's better not to contact if it's not necessary. Doing so will easily increase the risk of the Kuruta tribe being exposed. Do you want to be exposed? Of course not. That's right. What Jean said makes sense. Okay, then I'll go back after this is over. Rocky turned his head and continued to look at the things on the wall. Rocky is not interested in the excavation and development of the ruins, but he is quite interested in the things on the walls around the temple, because this is likely to be a new divine character carving. It's just that the means of hiding are too powerful. And Jean, this guy, has mastered a lot of divine characters. The things left for gone are using this kind of power. Being with Jean, Rocky also wants to learn from him the divine characters he has mastered. Rocky was also curious about the Greedy Island. Rocky was very sure that Greedy Island also used the power of the word God. He just didn't know how Jean and the others did it. If he could fully master the word God in this temple, then the fifth phantom sword might be in sight. However, this process was obviously continuous. But time was not a problem for Rocky at all. Next, Rocky continued to observe the murals and perfect the imprint of the word God in his mind. We could not observe anything new. Rocky practiced Ki. In terms of the practice of mind Ki, Jean gave Rocky a lot of guidance. Time flew. 3 months passed in a blink of an eye. After the follow-up large force of Jin's team arrived, the excavation work became faster. In almost a month, 80% of the ruins were excavated. Rocky also participated and found many interesting things. Mind. The mind left on ancient artifacts. These Ki always made Rocky feel a little strange. It is really amazing that a person's mind can be so strong that it can remain in something for hundreds or even thousands of years. The excavation of the 4th ruins is almost coming to an end. And Jean also saw Rocky coming out of the cave for the first time. Looking at Rocky coming out, Jean went up to Rocky and asked, "Is it done?" Hearing this, Rocky looked at him calmly at first, and then the corners of his mouth slowly rose. "It's done." Rocky raised his hand, and a group of thoughts appeared on his empty palm, and Jean used concentration to watch. Is this a thought? The Kuruta tribe calls this a divine word. Hearing Rocky's words, Jean seemed to suddenly understand why only Rocky could find something different in this ruins. But Jean didn't look at this thought word for much, but raised his head and laughed. Maybe from today on, there will be another kind of hunter in the world. Rocky was stunned for a moment. What is this guy talking about? Rocky, I think you are very suitable to be a divine word hunter. Chapter 72. Results of 3 months at NGL God Word Hunter. What kind of hunter is this? Is he looking for God words all over the world? That seems good. Rocky frowned and seemed to be very interested in this thing. Looking at Rocky's expression, Jean also smiled and said, "Some hunters pursue power, wealth, and fame, but there are also many hunters who pursue things that ordinary people cannot understand. No matter what you want to hunt, you have the potential to become a top hunter." Jean said and patted Rocky's shoulder. Without saying anything more to Jean about hunter, Rocky spread his palms and said, "Don't look at it carefully. Have you memorized it?" Jean was stunned for a moment. "What should I memorize?" "This reading text." He shook his head and said, "No, this is yours. Besides, I don't need to study the reading text anymore. I prefer the process of exploring the ruins and witnessing the glory of the ancient times." Unexpectedly, Jean was not interested in such a powerful divine word. He knew the role of the temple. In this case, giving up this divine word means you are leaving. Jean suddenly asked 17. Rocky nodded. Since this thing has been figured out, there is no need to stay here. I want to go to NGL to see my people. Go. Jean nodded. But remember to practice and don't give up. Once you set foot on the road of none, there is no time to stop. If you don't advance, you will retreat. Rocky slowly bowed his head to Jean to express his gratitude. The other party's teaching to Rocky during this period has benefited Rocky a lot. Especially Jean taught Rocky's mind control is even more abnormal and even exaggerated. Conjurer, enhancer, transmuter, emitter, manipulator, 5 systems have been trained at a deeper level during this period under Jin's suggestion. Rocky's abilities have been greatly enhanced. Not to mention the amount of mind energy, the power of the ability has increased several times. This surprised Rocky. In Jin's words, although the strength of mind energy can affect the ability, it is not absolute. The cultivation of ability and the cultivation of mind energy are completely different. The combination of the two is not addition, but multiplication. Therefore, a person's combat effectiveness cannot be completely determined by the amount of mind energy, and there are too many factors that determine it. Looking at the people around him, Rocky said to Jean, "Goodbye." Jean nodded. 5 phantom swords floated around Rocky, and some outlines could be vaguely seen. When the phantom sword appeared, Rocky turned into a stream of light. He flashed towards the sky and disappeared. Jean was stunned for a moment. Remember when I fought that kid before? He seemed to have only 4 weapons. Thinking of it, Jean smiled. It seems that Rocky has gained more than just reading the words in the temple during this period. He has also developed his abilities. But he didn't even feel when he developed it. Suddenly, Jean thought of something and shouted madly at the sky. Boy, remember to take the hunter license exam. That thing can save you a lot of trouble. I don't know if Rocky can hear it. Jean could only shrug and continue to devote himself to the development of the ruins. At this moment, Rocky in the sky felt helpless when he heard Jin's words. Hunter license. I will take the exam, but I don't seem to be old enough now. It will take several more years before I can take the hunter exam. It's quite helpless to think about it. Isn't enough to change the minimum age for the exam. Rocky in the air materialized the 5th phantom sword, looking at the scepter in his hand. This is Rocky's 5th phantom sword, and also the most important gain during this period. The staff of the Holy King. This new weapon developed in combination with the divine characters in the temple is not mainly used for fighting. Although it also has a certain degree of combat ability, its main ability is to be used for treatment and can release the light of the Holy King. It can help others heal their injuries, and even when using this phantom sword to fight, no matter what kind of injuries they suffer, they can recover quickly. The divine characters in the temple are engraved on it, and combined with the pattern of the temple, the divine characters are engraved in that peculiar way, which seems to be able to exert a stronger effect. But unfortunately, this method does not seem to be able to be applied to other divine characters without thinking. However, in the future, maybe we can really find a way to study the engraving methods of other divine characters. But it will take a lot of time. Rocky put away the staff of the Holy King, and then took out the map and took a look. NGL. This distance will probably take 1 or 2 days to reach. After coming out of the temple, Rocky felt unprecedented fatigue and planned to find a city to rest first. Then go to NGL. The next day, at noon, Rocky finally arrived at the Republic of NGL. Naturally, Rocky, who came from the sky, was not discovered by anyone. The so-called national border was completely useless to Rocky. He did not ask Jean about the specific location of his own people. If Rocky could not even find people in NGL, a country as small as a palm, then Jean would be speechless. Rocky himself would feel embarrassed. This naturally did not stump Rocky, and he did not even need to use his abilities. He found the people of the Kuruta tribe in a plain area near the mountain with a small river, although they were no longer wearing Kuruta clothes. But Rocky still knew these people. The number of people was the same as before. The small village of more than 20 people was not large in scale, but it happened that the surrounding flat land could be used for planting, which was enough to feed so many people. The sudden appearance of Rocky stunned all the Kuruta people. Rocky, It's really Rocky. He's not dead. Soon all the Kuruta people, whether they were busy or not, came running. They surrounded Rocky, and Rocky breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that these people were fine, the death of the chieftain was not in vain. Rocky, it's great that you're still alive. Rocky, I'm fine. It's great that you're all safe. Where's Pyro? Isn't Pyro with you? Rocky, Pyro is training in a place. He wants to become a warrior, so he won't come for the time being, but I'll tell him that I found everyone. Rocky, you're back. Should we leave here? Rocky was stunned for a moment and didn't understand why the tribesman thought so. Why do you ask like that? One of the tribesmen looked at Rocky. Before, the person who saved us advised us to give up everything of the Kuruta tribe and live as ordinary people. So we came here. Now that you are back, our Kuruta tribe has hope again, so we don't have to give up our Kuruta tribe. We can continue the Kuruta tribe by living like before. After hearing this, Rocky understood. These people probably think that they have to go back to the outside world, live an isolated life, and live according to the customs of the Kuruta tribe to continue the Kuruta tribe. Rocky looked at everyone and said, "No need to change, just like now. The real continuation of the Kuruta tribe is people. It's us. As long as we are alive, the Kuruta tribe will still exist." Chapter 73 New Problems. Another group of tribesmen, after hearing Rocky's words. Some of the Kuruta tribe members seemed a little confused, but the rest seemed to suddenly become clear. You can see the joy hidden in their eyes. For most of the Kuruta tribe members, the blood they carry is a burden to them. And not all the Kuruta tribe members will open the fiery red eyes when they are angry. After so many generations, the Kuruta tribe members with good bloodlines will have a higher probability of triggering the fiery red eyes, but some tribe members may only open the fiery red eyes once or twice due to anger in a few years. Most of the time, they are just like ordinary people. So living an ordinary life is what they want. Rocky smiled and said, "Just like now, I hope everyone can live in peace and control their emotions, and learn the language of the outside world as much as possible." The language of the Kuruta tribe is different from that of the outside world. Among these tribesmen, only a few can barely speak a few words of the outside world. We are learning. We have been learning since we came here. Now most people have no problem with daily greetings. Rocky nodded. Then they entered the village of the Kuruta tribe. The village was a little small, but there were many such small villages for NGL. No one would care about such a sudden appearance of such a village. This also saved the Kuruta tribe from a lot of trouble. No words were spoken that night. After experiencing the life of the tribe for a day, Rocky found that he seemed to be out of tune with this place. Before, when the chief grandfather was here, Rocky didn't have this feeling, but now he has this feeling more and more. He is not suitable for this place. Besides, the tribe chooses a peaceful life. So for Rocky, as a nun, staying here, he is bound to encounter trouble. Calculating the time, Rocky has been out of Greed Island for almost a year. The cooling time for modifying the bloodline is basically coming to an end, and now there is less than a month. Soon Rocky will be able to modify it again, and what Rocky is more curious about now is whether there will be anything new in the information bar this time. At the same time, Rocky was thinking about two things all night. The first thing is to go back to the original place of the Kuruta tribe and at least build a farm for the dead tribe members. The second thing is revenge. Now that the tribe members have been found and their safety is confirmed, Rocky will avenge the chief grandfather. All the Phantom Troop guys must be killed. Now, think about it. What are the identities of the strange guys who appeared in that town at the beginning? Why did they intercept the Kuruta people? Phantom Troop is probably not the mastermind of the Kuruta tribe's genocide. Phantom Troop seems to have received some orders to come to the Kuruta tribe. This is what Rocky needs to do next, to investigate this matter clearly. And at the same time, no matter what the reason is, Phantom Troop must pay a price. Now Rocky is confident that facing Phantom Troop's people is not a problem, especially after staying with Jean for 3 months. The rapid improvement makes Rocky very curious about what level of strength he has reached now. It's just right to use Phantom Troop as your whetstone. These guys are all top-notch nin users. If you can kill them, then Rocky feels that he may be transformed. In the morning, Rocky quietly packed up his things, and the short rest was over, just as Jean said. On the road of none, if you don't move forward, you'll fall back. You can't stop for a moment. Yesterday, Rocky didn't practice basic none, and today, he obviously felt that his condition had declined a lot. And today, the people of the Kuruta tribe seemed to know that Rocky would leave. They all came to talk to Rocky silently, lining up one by one. When the last Kuruta child finished speaking, everyone smiled and looked at Rocky silently. Without any extra words, Rocky quietly left. But when he was leaving, a tribe member suddenly looked at Rocky, as if he remembered something. "Lord Rocky." Rocky turned around and said, "Don't worry, I'll come back to see you when I have time." The other party shook his head and said, "No, I want to say that your uncle, Lord Kazuki, he recovered from his injuries and left here a few months ago. He said that there are still people in the Kuruta tribe to find. There are still people." Rocky was stunned for a moment and suddenly remembered. That's right. Before the Kuruta tribe was attacked, the chief grandfather asked Hyza to lead a group of Kuruta people to pass through the passage first and hide in the forest. If anything unexpected happened, they would leave immediately. And the boats that left the town afterwards were reserved by Hyza in advance. Hyza and the group of people didn't know where they went. Did he say where he was going to look for? The tribesmen looked at each other and shook their heads. I don't know, he didn't say it. I'm afraid it's not that he didn't say it, but that his uncle Kazuki himself didn't know where to look for it. It's just that as a nun, as a warrior of the Kuruta tribe, he couldn't live an ordinary life like other people in peace. There were still some tribesmen who would not stop until they found him. Don't worry, I will find him. I will find another group of tribesmen too. The tribesmen led by Hysa numbered about 30 people, and the tribesmen he took away numbered more than 20 people, adding up to 50 or 60 people. In other words, half of the Kuruta tribe members were saved from extermination. I don't know whether this result is good or bad. Rocky thought about turning into a white light and disappearing directly, watching the way Rocky disappeared. The Kuruta tribe members opened their mouths wide, with a look of surprise on their faces. The 3 or 4 little kids who were still about 10 years old were even more yearning. I also want to become a warrior like Rocky in the future. This is so cool. Find Kagetsu, go to the tribe, take revenge on Phantom Troop, and find Hysa and other tribesmen. For things. For a moment, Rocky didn't know which one to do. Finally, I thought about it and decided to go to the tribe first, then look for my uncle Gaiua. If I'm lucky, I might be able to find something that Gaiua left behind in the tribe. It will be very helpful for finding Gaiua. After that, I will take revenge on Phantom Troop and look for Haizo's tribe members. Goodly Zhao, what Rocky didn't know was that when he wanted to find Gaiua, Gaiua was also looking for him. Sky Arena. Suki looked at the person in front of him. Are you sure this kid has signed up with you to become a player? I'm sure. Where is he now? He registered before and has left the Sky Arena. Where did he go? The receptionist shook his head. Sorry, we are just providing you with more information. I have money. This is not about money, sir. If you're a hunter, I can reveal it. Suki was stunned for a moment. Is it okay if you are a hunter? The other party was also a little confused about Suki's reaction. Of course, if you hold a hunter license, you can not only easily learn more information from various places, but also log in directly to the hunter-only website, which has any information. As long as you have money, you can buy it. Hunter. Suki lowered his head and pondered something. Chapter 74. The brigade's road to revenge through words after leaving NGL. Rocky did not use his ability to return to the former Kuruta tribe's homeland directly, but chose to take transportation to go back. This process was quite time-consuming. Rocky spent about 10 days on the road. During this time, Rocky adjusted his state silently and practiced his mind while traveling. Although it was just some basic contacts, it also made Rocky make a lot of progress. When he came to the nearest town outside the Kuruta tribe's homeland, there were obviously many people in the town, and these people should be people from this country. Rocky didn't know what these people were doing here. After so long, the Kuruta tribe's affairs had long been exposed. So Rocky was not surprised at all that there were people here. After all, The Kuruta tribe was a very famous tribe worldwide, and it was destroyed by an organization like Phantom Troop, so of course it attracted a lot of attention. Even now, this place only has the remains of the Kuruta tribe. The former clan land had been blocked, so Rocky could only quietly pass through the blockade and come to the clan land to check. Most of the things were burned, and Rocky could not find anything useful. And some of the things left after the burning seemed to have been moved away. Rocky went around and came to the location of the previously blown-up escape passage. To ordinary people, this place is just a collapsed cave, and there is nothing to study. The moment Rocky came here, his eyes instantly turned red. We are a bandit organization to seize everything we want. We will not refuse anything, so don't take anything from us. Phantom Troop accepted the Crimson Eye, one of the 7 beauties in the world. The words formed by the mind energy that appeared on the wall caught Rocky's eyes. These words made Rocky's anger erupt wildly. Did Phantom Troop deliberately leave the words here to wait for him to come? Otherwise, why would he use words? If it was for ordinary people to see, then there shouldn't be any words left. Raising his hand, Rocky released his energy and directly wiped out the words on the wall. Very good, Phantom Troop. You seem very proud. But don't be too happy too soon. I will come to you soon to take some interest first. He must take back the eyes of the tribe. He can't let these eyes fall into the hands of others. After leaving the tribe, Rocky's expression has been a little wrong, and his mood has not been able to calm down. Rocky punched a giant tree in the forest, directly in half. The exploding sawdust powder floated in the air, and the giant tree slowly fell. Rocky's figure has disappeared, and the sky at this moment is flying towards the distance with a white light. Revenge begins. Finding Phantom Troop is not an easy task. After all, if the traces of Phantom Troop were so easy to find, Phantom Troop wouldn't be considered mysterious. The best way to find Phantom Troop is through the Hunter's Intelligence website, but Rocky is not a hunter now. It's good to find a hunter to help. It's easy to find a professional hunter as long as you spend money. And this hunter must be strong. Ordinary hunters will definitely not work. Suddenly, Rocky has a candidate. That's him. A year has passed, and that guy should have become stronger. I even have intelligence that he can't refuse. Rocky smiled and opened the system's information panel. Rocky looked at the time. There is still more than 10 days before the next modification will start. I just tried to find that guy and let him help me find some information about the brigade. Raise your hand. Rocky hovered in the air, and then a sword appeared in his hand. The Flying King bow appeared, and Rocky frowned. I don't need any special intelligence for someone I have seen with my own eyes. At least when I met that guy, the Flying King bow was also in the process of being developed, so it should be possible. Rocky thought. The guidance arrow shot out instantly. Then it circled in the air, and then returned to Rocky's front in a crystal state, and then merged into Rocky's surroundings to guide Rocky in the direction. After looking at the direction, Rocky immediately turned into a white flash and disappeared directly in the air. At this moment, someone who was in a small restaurant in a small town, eating and looking at the map, just brought the hamburger to his mouth. Then he immediately felt something was wrong, because it seemed that something was locking on him, and this feeling made him a little fidgety. Time passed by minute, and a few seconds later. Suddenly, he felt a very weak fluctuation of mind energy, and then the man immediately rushed out of the restaurant like crazy. When he came to the street outside, everyone around him looked at him as if he was a monster. The speed at which this guy burst out just now was too terrifying. Snap! A faint sound of breaking sounded. White crystals floated around him. Seeing this, he was stunned. What is this? Long time no see. Kate. Suddenly hearing Rocky's voice, Kate turned around abruptly. Looking at Rocky, who was wrapped in a white cloak. It's you. Unexpectedly, it was Rocky, but Kate was a little curious. What did this guy come to her for? What do you want to do with me? Hearing this, Rocky nodded. Yes. I want to ask you for help with something. Help? Kate was a little curious. This kid seemed to have become stronger, and the aura on his body had reached a point that surprised him. What else does he need her help with? Thinking of this, Kate also became interested. Let's talk inside. Rocky glanced at the restaurant Kate pointed to and nodded. Okay. After sitting down in the restaurant, Kate ordered some food for Rocky and waited for Rocky to speak. Have you heard of Phantom Troop? Kate's eyes narrowed slightly when she heard the name. Of course. A gang of thieves. All of them are none. I want you to help me investigate them. Investigate Phantom Troop? Rocky nodded. Yes, investigate Phantom Troop. I want to know where they are. You have a hunter license, right? Then it shouldn't be difficult for you to get this information. Kate squinted her eyes and looked at Rocky. It's true, but it's not easy to provoke those guys. Information exchange. I will exchange Jin's location information with you. It's easier to investigate Phantom Troop than to investigate Jin. Rocky smiled. Kate frowned when she heard this, and just thought for a moment before she agreed. Deal. Very good. How long will it take you? Kate thought for a while. Within half a month, I will tell you the approximate location of those guys, but it's not so easy to find them specifically. Okay, half a month is just right for Rocky to make the next modification. Chapter 75. New revision begins after 1 year. I agreed with Kate to meet in a bigger city in 15 days. After all, it is not convenient to transmit information in a small town. Fortunately, this small town is not far from the nearest first-tier city. Kate left first to collect information, and Rocky planned to stay in the small town for a while to temper his mind. At the same time, he was waiting for the next modification permission. After waiting for more than 10 days, finally, after a year, Rocky got the modification permission again. In a deserted place in the wild, Rocky sat on a big rock, naked with sweat dripping down his back. After stopping to rest, Rocky opened the information bar and looked at the countdown. It's about to end. 3. Modification permission obtained. Open the information bar again. This time Rocky is full of expectations. Host: Rocky race, human. Kuruta, tribe none talent. Top none ability. Phantom shift, expandable. Phantom sword, expandable. Teleport mark, expandable. King's power, expandable. Six gods power, expandable. None energy, 64,000. Rising, none system. Manipulator, transmuter, physical potential. Top bloodline ability. Perfect eternal eye. The most perfect of the 7 beauties in the world, brings all-round enhancement, and when activated, it will increase the power of all known systems by 100% in all directions. Physical condition. Good currently has obtained modification permission. Can be modified. The new information column has indeed changed. There are more than just 1 or 2 items. Before, none and talent had only 1 information column, but now it is different, separated. None talent and none ability have become 2 independent information columns. Does this mean that Rocky can now modify his own abilities? Looking at the words that can be expanded at the back, Luo frowned and clicked it through the command. Phantom shift, intermediate, can instantly move to the location of the phantom sword. The farther it moves, the stronger the impact will be. Looking at the detailed introduction, this seems to be impossible to modify. The ability level of the phantom shift can be modified. Phantom shift, intermediate eye. If it is modified to advanced, will this ability become stronger directly? Rocky did not want to check other abilities. After all, they should be similar to this one, nothing more than the level of the ability, and then introduce the specific effects of the ability. Rocky developed his own ability. Doesn't he know what effect it has? What Rocky is most interested in now should be the amount of mind energy. This new information column makes Rocky feel very surprised. Can even the amount of mind energy be modified? Although Gene said before that the amount of mind energy and ability are completely different, a large amount of mind energy does not mean that the ability is strong. It depends on the specific situation. The amount of energy that the ability can contain increases the power in a multiplicative way. But no matter what, the amount of energy is very important for a person with the ability. And Rocky's current energy of more than 60,000 is already a master. If I remember correctly, the energy of the members of the brigade is about 30,000 to 50,000. And now my energy is more than 60,000, which should be about the same level as Krallo. At this level, Rocky is now a first-class Nun user. However, whether the amount of Nun can be converted into combat power depends on actual combat experience, as well as the type of ability and whether the ability is strong. Originally, Rocky thought that if there was no new information bar, or no new useful information bar, then he would directly modify his status. Keep his status in an excellent state at all times. In this way, the combat power could be improved a lot. After all, not everyone can keep their body in the best condition when facing a battle. The fluctuation of status also affects the performance of strength. But now it seems that we have to think carefully about what to modify. None can be modified, and the amount of none can also be modified. If the former is modified, it should be able to directly enhance Rocky's combat power, and none will naturally enhance combat power. However, we also have to consider a problem. If the none is too strong and the amount of none is not enough, then it is obviously impossible to fight for a long time. Maybe it's a 3-second real man. One hit kills a member of the brigade, but what happens after the kill? If the opponent has other companions or is surrounded by others, it will be bad. In other words, although modifying none can stably guarantee the increase of Rocky's combat power, but it makes Rocky an assassin who can kill with one strike and then flee immediately. This style is too risky to face Phantom Troop because there are too many top-notch masters on the other side. So modifying none is risky, and it seems to be safer to modify the spirit energy. Although the direct increase in combat power may not be much, no matter how large the spirit energy is, there is no ability to match it. Then the means of fighting is like the Ant King, who can only attack with fists close to the body. Obviously, Netero is far inferior to him in terms of spirit energy, but he is still suppressed by Netero and even embarrassed. Although he won in the end, it can only be said that he exhausted Netero to death. If it is Netero in peak state, his spirit energy is not to say that he crushes the king. Even if it is still not as good as the king, I am afraid that who will win in the end is still a question mark. This is the change brought by ability. Rocky frowned and thought for a moment. Perhaps ability is important, but his ability seems to be not weak. It is enough to deal with the people in the troop. The only thing lacking is the amount of energy. So, let's modify the energy this time. Energy. 64,000. Should I try to add a 0 at the end? No. According to Rocky's previous experience, the time interval between modifications is more due to the difference between Rocky and the modified one. The greater the difference, the longer the interval required. Moreover, adding a 0 directly to deal with the people in the Phantom Troop seems unnecessary. What's more important is that the amount of energy has increased dramatically. It will take some time for me to adapt to controlling that amount of energy. It's like a person suddenly becomes extremely powerful and needs to control his strength more meticulously so as not to cause trouble to himself. Adding a 0 is a bit exaggerated, so why not add a 1? I have seen the ranking of energy in the Hunter world. Although it may not be accurate, it can still be used as a reference. Rocky remembers that Jin's energy seems to be around 200,000. As one of the top 5 none in the world, Jin only has 200,000 none, so there is no need to increase it too much. Add 1. None key. 160,000 in key is enough. Rocky estimated that it would take several months to modify it. If it still takes 1 or 2 years, then it is not necessary. The modification takes too long. It is estimated that it will take 1 month to complete the modification. Do you want to modify it? Just 1 month? Rocky was stunned for a moment. If it is only 1 month, then it doesn't matter at all. Confirmed the modification. The modification begins. The modification will be completed within the next month. During this period, the host should try not to use none to prevent problems with the modification. The host can only make the next modification after the modification is completed. Chapter 76, The 7 Great Beauties of the World reappear. What? It will take a month to complete the modification. You cannot modify it again during this period. Rocky stared at the prompt for a long time before he was somewhat certain. Is it possible that modifying the amount of mind energy will not cause the time for reacquiring the modification permission? If so, then Rocky will have to worry about another problem. Perhaps after a year, some new rules have appeared on the information panel, and he hasn't discovered it yet. But the current problem is not so bad. Just try not to use mind energy for a month. What if there is a modification error? Rocky was a little curious and raised his hand to release his energy. It was still very smooth and it didn't seem to have any effect. But soon Rocky felt something was wrong, because his energy seemed to be growing and the growth rate was quite amazing. 823 1 month. The amount of mind energy will increase from 60,000 to 160,000, which is a doubling. Don't let yourself use mind energy. It's probably because when you use mind energy, you will feel the amount of cold energy increasing. This feeling still affects Rocky's control of energy and the use of his abilities. If you use it in large quantities, there may indeed be problems. Rocky put away his spiritual energy. The feeling of the increase in spiritual energy seems to be a bit intoxicating. Rocky shook his head. Since the modification has been confirmed, the next step is to meet Kate. Originally, he should be able to practice here for 2 days, but now he should try not to use his spiritual energy, so Rocky needs to leave early. It will take about 1 or 2 days to take public transportation, and it will probably be the time agreed with Kate. Rocky packed up and prepared to leave. In 30 days, his spiritual energy will surge to the same level as Gene. He felt a little excited just thinking about it, and his strength would change dramatically by then. What if he continued to modify the increase of millions of spiritual energy? There should be no problem. Thinking of this, Rocky's mouth corners rose unconsciously, breaking through the million-level spiritual energy that would surpass the level of President Hunter. Even if he maintained this frequency, increasing the spiritual energy by 100,000 per month, he could break through the million mark in a year. Rocky was looking forward to it more and more. The next day, at the agreed location, in a room in a 5-star hotel, Rocky had contacted Kate through the contact number, waiting for Kate to arrive. Soon the door was pushed open, and Rocky just walked out of the bathroom in pajamas. Kate glanced at Rocky, then put a stack of documents on the coffee table in the room. These are the information I collected about Phantom Troop these days. Rocky picked up the information and checked it. First, some basic information about the Phantom Troop members. Rocky knows some of this information without looking it up. Of course, presenting it this way can give you a more intuitive understanding of the information of each member of the brigade. Do you know the 7 beauties of the world? Kate suddenly said this, and Rocky looked up and frowned at him. Yes, you are lucky. I learned something. Next month, another country is going to transport water glass, one of the 7 beauties of the world. Kate also sat opposite Rocky. This thing was previously in the hands of an explorer who has become a wealthy man. Back then, the explorer spent 30 years to find water glass, one of the 7 beauties of the world, in a certain place. Here is the information about water glass. You can take a look. Rocky turned to the place Kate pointed. One of the 7 beauties of the world, water glass, a vine plant that grows on the shoulders of dormant volcanoes that are frozen all year round. Due to the large amount of absorption of certain sulfur compounds, anthocyanins are lost, and the whole plant is transparent and has a mineral-like luster. The value is amazing. It is said that 10 complete pieces of water glass can buy a small country. Rocky was stunned after seeing this introduction. Is this thing so expensive? One could buy a country? So, the brigade's target is this? Kate nodded. Yes, this explorer passed away last month. His children inherited most of the wealth, but this thing was donated to the country for free. Kate smiled and said, maybe he didn't want his children to be targeted every day. He left a will to donate this thing casually, and after a month of arrangement and layout, it will be officially transported next month. This thing is still in the fortress-level villa built by that guy. It's hard to take it out. The thing is hidden in a safe house hundreds of meters underground. Once someone breaks in, it will explode immediately and bury this thing directly underground. Kate took out a map. This is the transportation route map. I heard that Phantom Troop seems to want to snatch this thing, but this time it is the army and none sent by the country. So it's not a wise choice to want to go head on. The only chance is to have a chance to take action on the way to the airport. Rocky glanced at the terrain on the map. The road leading to the airport passed through a mountainous area. The place was shrouded in mist and clouds. Even a helicopter following would easily lose its way. At the same time, the steep mountains could easily cause it to get lost. In such a place, ordinary human armies would be useless. It was a suitable place for none to take action. Yeah, It's indeed a good place. Raising his head, Rocky looked at Kate. How do you know they will do something with this thing? There is no definite news, but a quote suddenly appeared on the black market. 100 billion to buy 1 gram of water glass. Do you know what this means? Kate smiled. This means that if you own this thing, you may be able to buy 5 or 6 countries directly. And the intelligence I have collected from all the people in Phantom Troop and the movement trajectories of their members are all moving towards this country. Combining these things, it is speculated that the possibility that they want to steal this thing is greater than 70%. It is indeed impossible for a gathering without reason to have no reason. The time is now June 1996. Rocky vaguely remembers this time point. Phantom Troop will gather once in July, but did not say what they will gather for. However, whenever the troop gathers, it will be 1,000 heavy. Then Kate's speculation in 1.3 should be accurate. Thinking of this, Rocky suddenly glanced at Kate. As expected of Mr. Jin's disciple, it must have taken a lot of effort to investigate so much information in such a short time. Kate waved her hand. Most of the information can be bought with money, and a small part of the information is owed to some people. These pieces of paper cost 3 billion. This price made Rocky slightly stunned. I'll give you this money. Hearing this, Kate directly refused no. It's agreed in advance that you tell me Jin's location, and I will help you investigate Phantom Troop. This is an exchange of information. Although it cost 3 billion, Mr. Jin's information is in my hands, and there is no market for it. Rocky sighed. Take it. Just consider it as a thank you. I will send you Jin's location. If you don't find Jin in that place by then, come to me and I can find him no matter where he is. Chapter 77. The appearance of the perverted card-flying Kate looked at the extra 3 billion in her account. Although in her mind, Jin's information was indeed priceless and could not be bought even with money. But the real value of Jin's information compared with the information of Phantom Troop was obviously much higher. Jin's information was a matter of opinion. It was of course important to those who needed it, but for ordinary people, knowing where Jin was useless. Kate glanced at Rocky. Okay, I'll take the money. I really need it. I've mortgaged my hunter license. Rocky stood up and was a little surprised. It seems that Kate really paid a lot of price to get the information about Jin from him. People like Kate or Jin don't care about money at all. It's not that they are rich, but even if there are opportunities or methods to make money, they won't go out of their way to make money. So Kate shouldn't have much money. But this is the power of Hunter. Even if there is not much money, it can find a way to raise such a large sum of money in a short time. Since you pay me, then even if I am hired by you this time, I will go with you to deal with Phantom Troop. This surprised Rocky. 17, okay. Rocky didn't refuse this. The brigade is all first-class masters. It is indeed risky for Rocky to go alone. It would be much safer if there was Kate. Kate now may not be as strong as she was a few years later, but it should be no problem to defeat or even hold off a member of a brigade. It is quite good to get the help of a first-class nin or a quasi-first-class ability user for 3 billion. Then we will leave tomorrow. Go and book 2 tickets. Rocky looked at Kate and gave her orders. There was no other way. Rocky was penniless now, so he gave all his money to Kate. He probably still had a few million in his hand, which was nothing in this world. Kate did not refuse. The two met at the airship airport the next day. It would take 3 days to take an airship to that country. The distance was still quite far. If he could use none at will, Rocky would only need half a day to get there. But it was not possible now. After spending a long time with Rocky, Kate found something strange. It seems that Rocky's ki can't be controlled at will, and from time to time, it will burst out with powerful mental fluctuations. This makes Kate very confused. Your ki seems to be poorly controlled. Kate asked on the airship, and Ronki smiled and said, "Did you find it?" "Indeed, my ki has been growing wildly recently. Even if I do nothing, it will increase. Sometimes it is really hard to control. Sudden surge? There is such a thing? Ordinary none. That doesn't rely on the accumulation of mental ki to increase. Rocky's monster's mental ki can also increase automatically. And looking at Rocky, he is several times stronger than when we met a year ago. This speed of progress can be called abnormal. And in this case, the mental key can also increase automatically. This kid is only 9 years old. He should be less than 10 years old. At this age, his strength seems to be stronger than himself. I have been with Gene for 3 months. He is half of my teacher. He taught me a lot of things. Maybe the sudden surge of ki is related to Jin's teachings. Now is the time to push the problem to Gene. However, after hearing that Rocky and Gene had been together for a while, Kate became interested. Asked about Gene. The two talked a lot about Gene, Hunter, and other things on the airship. Finally, after 3 days, Rocky felt something was wrong when he came out of the airship airport. At the same time, Kate also signaled Rocky with her eyes. "Someone is targeting us," Kate said calmly, looking ahead, and Rocky nodded. "Indeed, but do you know the exact location?" "I don't know. It seems that he is a master." "Well, if my key is not in this state, I should be able to find him." Kate was stunned when she heard this. The other party's breath is hidden very well. Can you feel the other party's position? No. Rocky turned around, and the two walked along the road, laughing and saying, "Can't we just use a circle?" "Circle? What is the limit range of your circle?" Rocky lowered his head and thought about it. After Jin's training before, the limit range seemed to be able to reach 100 meters. 100 meters! Now it should be more than that. If my mind is calm, I think it should be no problem to reach about 200 meters. Hearing this number, Kate was silent. As Jin's disciple, his strength is not weak. His level of various application skills of mind is just at the passing line. In other words, Kate's circle is only about 50 meters. Rocky, a kid who is younger than him, can easily run over 100 meters. This skill is as difficult to master as none, and the same is true for improvement. A demon like Mr. Gene, the two walked and walked, getting farther and farther away from the crowd, heading toward a remote place. Only in this way can it be easier to find the guy who is following. Came to an old and dilapidated basketball court. Rocky stopped, and Kate also stopped. The two stood back to back and looked around. Rocky smiled. He is indeed a master. He has not revealed any flaws until now. Kate also nodded. But if he continues to stay here, the opponent's position will soon be exposed. Let's see if he chooses to leave. When Rocky and Kate reach this level, even if someone glances at them in the crowd, they will feel it. Not to mention in a place like this with few people. If you want to sense the opponent, you only need to look at him 267 times, and you will notice it. Wah wah wah. Suddenly, cards that were looked at suddenly flew out of the residential buildings around the basketball court. It fell towards the basketball court like snowflakes. When Rocky looked at these cards, his eyes shrank slightly. Cards. Could it be? Ding. Kate suddenly pulled out the knife at her waist and blocked the cards that were hidden in the cards. Blindfold, be careful. Ding. The white crystal on Rocky's side suddenly flashed, and a card hit Rocky's phantom sword, and the attack was blocked. Looking at the attack that was easily blocked, Rocky sighed in his heart. Not everyone's attack is as abnormal as Jin's, who can break my phantom sword with one strike. This level of thoughts, unless it is a concentrated attack, can't break my defense. Rocky felt quite satisfied with his phantom sword's defense ability this time. La la la. One unexpected gain. I didn't expect that my luck was so good that I could meet such a powerful guy like you. A figure slowly walked out among the scattered cards. Rocky looked at the other party. Magician Hisoka. It was him, as expected. I guessed it when I saw the cards. But why did this guy target the two of them? He would leak some of his aura from time to time. Probably because of this reason he was targeted. Chapter 78. The Crazy Clown with Explosive Mind. Who are you? Why are you targeting us? Kate took a step forward and asked Hisoka with a strong momentum. However, facing Kate's momentum, Hisoka was not affected at all, and his eyes moved back and forth between Rocky and Kate. According to Hisoka's judgment, this kid is very talented and is a green apple, and the silver-haired man in front of him is his real rival. A faint pressure can be felt from the other party, but not much. But even so, it does not affect the other party from being a valuable fighting opponent. When I see an interesting guy, I can't help it. Want. Hisoka raised his head slightly, licked his upper lip lightly with his tongue, and his current expression was like a pervert. Seeing the other party like this, Kate had no fluctuations, and Rocky couldn't help but say in his heart, "It's worthy of being a pervert." It's obvious that he wants to kill someone, but he looks so strong. And now Kate also roughly understands that the guy in front of him is a murderer. It is not impossible to target the two of them for no reason. "You better leave now. If you must attack us, I think you will regret it." Hyoka became even more excited after Kate said this. "Really? Then, I can't leave." Hyoka opened his hands, as if he used his arms as wings, and the cards flew out of his hands quickly. These cards did not have any lethality, and Hisoka's seemingly useless action was attracting attention. But unfortunately, Kate's eyes were filled with a faint spirit, and Kate had been using it from the beginning to now. It was very difficult to quietly throw the spirit on Kate under Kate's nose. And Hisoka also observed and noticed this. Good vigilance. Nen's battle, under normal circumstances, cannot actively expose their abilities. Nen that are not exposed have a stronger deterrent power. Even if the power is not very powerful, it can make the enemy very careful. Hisoka stretched out his hand and took out 2 cards. He gathered his mind and rushed towards Kate. Seeing this, Kate swung her sword and chopped at Hisoka. The first time they collided, they both chose the normal state and did not show their abilities. Using weapons to defend themselves means that it is highly likely that the person is not an enhancer. Hisoka was thinking the cards collided with the blade, but the cards were not cut. Instead, they collided with Kate's weapon and made a dinging sound, which made Hisoka more certain. If it was an enhancer, conjurer, or transmuter, his cards would not be able to stop the opponent's blade from cutting. The cards and the blades have the same power. Of course, they are different. The reason for this difference can only be something else, which means that the opponent's power in enhancer is not very good. So he can rely on the cards to block the opponent's attack. Emitter, or manipulator. If it's an emitter, then he will definitely not choose to fight me in close combat. Even if an emitter is testing, he will prefer to release telekinesis to attack. After all, the power of the transmuter, the emitter can exert 80% of its power. The two of them fought briefly and separated. Hisoka suddenly raised his head and said, You must be a manipulator." Kate's eyes trembled wildly when she heard this guy. "He judged my telekinesis after just one fight. Not good. You are a conjurer." Suddenly Rocky also spoke. Hearing this, Hisoka suddenly turned his attention to Rocky. How did this guy know that he was a conjurer? I obviously didn't reveal anything. Conjurer? It seems that there is some trouble. Kate frowned. Judging from Hisoka's micro-expression just now, Jianki should be right. If it is a conjurer, it is best not to touch the other party's mind. God knows what the other party's mind will become. And since the mind system has been seen through, there is no need to hide. Raise your hand. I hope I will have better luck this time. Bang! White smoke appeared. Yo this time. I met a strong opponent. Kate, you are so long-winded. Turn it quickly. There is a roulette in my mouth. Numbers 1 to 9. I am crazy clown. Efore. Looking at Kate's ability, although Rocky knew a long time ago, he found it a little funny when he saw it for the first time. In such a serious situation during the battle, it is indeed a bit difficult to hold back when such a noisy clown appears. Hisoka also looked at Kate with a surprised face. After all, the ability of manipulator is probably like this, but being able to make the things that come out of manipulator speak. It means that the ability of this man in front of him is very special. As the number is selected, a gun appears. Of course, the shape of the gun is very exaggerated, similar to a pistol, but with an extremely long tail. I didn't hit it again. Crazy clown. Bullshit, I never miss it. Looking at the appearance of the pistol, Hisoka frowned. There are only 2 possibilities for weapons like pistols in the Battle of None. Either very rubbish or terribly strong, and Kate is most likely the latter. However, Hisoka was even more excited. The stronger the opponent, the stronger the ability, and the greater the satisfaction of killing the opponent. Bang! One shot. Hisoka dodged instantly, and at the same time he no longer hid, and the national order fell on the surrounding residential buildings. Retractable love. Swish. In an instant, Hisoka shuttled back and forth like Spider-Man, and his speed became extremely terrifying in an instant. However, with the threat of the pistol, Kate was able to effectively prevent Hisoka from getting close. Relying on Hisoka's ability, once he got close, as long as he touched Kate, the battle was basically over. After all, Kate was not an enhancer, and it was quite difficult to withstand the trouble brought by the retractable love. Moreover, Kate at this stage was not Kate 3 years later, and her strength was even greater than Hisoka. When the two fought, Rocky on the side was thinking about something. Yes, if Rocky remembers correctly, Hisoka joined a Phantom Troop this year, and now Hisoka appears here. Is it 4? If that's the case, then there's no need to get entangled with Hisoka. It's better for Rocky to let Hisoka go to the troop for trouble, which is equivalent to having another helper. Thinking of this, Rocky glanced in the direction of the two. Hisoka's attacks were getting more and more intense, and Kate's defense was a bit difficult. 1. Lifting his cloak, Ming. At the same moment, the Phantom Sword, Fulong Wang's sword, appeared. It appeared directly above Rocky's head, and a large amount of energy instantly gathered on the rotating Fulong Wang's sword. The energy that suddenly burst out from Rocky's body directly caused the ground under his feet to suddenly crack, and the violent mind-energy fluctuations spread rapidly. It swept the entire basketball court in just a moment. Hisoka and Kate stopped at the same time. Hisoka turned his head and looked in Rocky's direction in surprise. Such a huge amount of energy actually came from a little ghost. Chapter 79, The Real Monster of Fulong King's Sword. How is it possible? Hisoka was shocked at the moment. He thought Kate was Rocky's teacher or something. Although Rocky was also a nun user, but a kid of this age was just a nun beginner at best, and his strength was definitely not that strong. Hisoka had no interest in dealing with such a beginner, but he had mastered nun at this age, so he might become a good opponent in the future. Position Rocky as a green apple, but now, Rocky burst out with such a terrifying nun, which completely broke Hisoka's cognition. Monster, Hisoka suddenly said. Hearing this evaluation, Rocky was a little speechless. Is this a monster? The current Rocky's nun should be estimated to be around 80,000 at most. After all, the modification has only been carried out for a few days. The nun is still increasing. If the modification is completed, then the 160,000 yen key will be called a real monster at that time. Zizizizi. The Fulong Wang sword, which was shining like a sun above Rocky's head, made a harsh sound due to its high-frequency rotation. Rocky looked at Hisoka. There was a strange look in his calm eyes. The next second, Shwa, the Fulong Wang sword above his head, shot out instantly, leaving a trail of light red light in the air in an instant, and the target was directly at Hisoka. So fast, Hisoka sighed in his heart, while sticking one end of the yen to the wall through the flexible love, and pulling his body to increase his movement speed to avoid the attack. Wind. The sound of wind blowing past Hisoka's ears made Hisoka feel his ears buzzing. At the same time, when the Fulong Wang's sword passed by, the moment it came behind Hisoka, he could clearly hear the sound of a machine transforming and disintegrating, and the Fulong Wang's sword instantly decomposed into 4 daggers. Under Rocky's control, it flew straight towards Shisu in 4 different directions. At this moment, not only Hisoka was shocked, but even Kate was stunned for a moment. Can you still change your form? Kate looked at the flashing red light, and the thoughts that had previously gathered on this weapon were now evenly divided into 4 parts, attached to the 4 daggers. The flying speed and power are unparalleled. Swish! 4 consecutive wind-breaking sounds sounded, and the first dagger cut off Hisoka's retreat, forcing Hisoka to temporarily change the direction of dodge. As a result, the flexible love was useless. It was difficult to dodge Rocky's attack by relying on one's own speed. The second and third daggers approached Hisoka at the same time. Although the timing and rhythm of the attack were well controlled, Hisoka suddenly used his mind to stick to himself and stretched himself, forcing his body to make an amazing evasive move in the air without any leverage. A genius in fighting. This was Rocky's evaluation of Hisoka. And Kate was also amazed by this move. If Hisoka hadn't thought of this method, he would have been injured if not dead in this second. The attacks of the 3 daggers were dodged, and a last dagger came from bottom to top. Hisoka took out a card and slashed at the last dagger fiercely. However, this time, the card was instantly cut in half, but the impact force brought by the card attached to the mind also changed the attack trajectory of the dagger. The dagger passed by his arm. Although the clothes were cut, it did not hurt Hisoka. Hisoka landed and looked at the clothes on his arm that had been neatly cut. His eyes kept shaking. How possible? Bang, bang, bang. The 4 daggers in the air gathered together again, forming the complete Fulong Wang sword again, and began to rotate rapidly again, falling straight down. Swish! Hisoka jumped back. Under his gaze, Rocky's Fulong Wang sword sank into the ground instantly, and the concrete floor was cut open as if it were tofu. The powerful force also caused cracks. The Fulong Wang sword instantly rushed into the ground 100 meters deep, and Hisoka felt even more incredible about the power. BHFH, what kind of thought? Can the power of the attack be so abnormal? This kid should be an emitter or transmuter. He can easily cut his own cards, so he should be more inclined to transmuter. Hisoka was thinking. Suddenly, he felt something cold on the back of his head pointing at him. Oops. Hisoka was stunned for a moment, too focused on Rocky, and forgot that there was another master here. 1-on-2. Sure enough, there was no chance of winning, especially since the opponent had a transmuter's high lift. Release and materialize. This combination can basically fight any nun from any system. Slowly raising his hand, Hisoka sighed helplessly. I surrender, I surrender. Kate smiled. You are very strong. In a 1-on-1 fight, it is still uncertain who will win. However, when Kate was talking, Rocky's eyes suddenly shrank slightly, and 4 flying knives broke out of the ground and aimed directly at Shisu. If you continue your little tricks, they will immediately penetrate your heart, brain, spine, and throat. Rocky's words made Hisoka sigh helplessly. Have you been discovered again? What a scary little ghost. You have such a good observation ability despite such a terrifying mind. Hisoka helplessly lifted the frivolous false phenomenon and flew out a card at the position of his hand. This card uses the retractable love to connect to the ground. Hisoka wants to use the card to attack Kate. Kill Kate first, and then find a way to deal with Rocky. But Rocky was able to discover his little tricks. Kate was slightly stunned. He didn't notice any small movements of Hisoka. If Rocky hadn't noticed him, he would have been in danger. They were all first-class nin users, and they knew that sometimes a single strike could be fatal. Kate. Suddenly Rocky's voice sounded, and Kate came back to his senses and looked in Rocky's direction. Let him go. Kate was stunned when she heard this, but she didn't say anything and put away her gun and stepped back. Hisoka looked at Rocky in confusion. What do you mean? Rocky smiled. Nothing. Didn't you say you surrendered? Or did you change your mind and don't want to admit it? Don't continue. As he spoke, Rocky's aura burst out again, and the full release of thoughts made Rocky's momentum even more terrifying. In an instant, the strong and oppressive thoughts enveloped him. Feeling Rocky's aura, Hisoka was shocked. Just now, wasn't in a state of full firepower. This kid, where did this monster come from? 1-2. There is no chance of winning. Hisoka looked up at Rocky. Then don't fight. Are you going to kill me? I don't have such an intention. Oh, if you don't intend to kill me, then I'll leave. Please do as you please. Hisoka was a little confused. It was a bit strange that the other party didn't ask anything and just let him go. But Hisoka didn't intend to ask. What qualifications did the loser have to ask? But he stared at Rocky and Kate. Next time, I must find a chance to deal with them 1-on-1. Chapter 80. Countdown to the brigade gathering begins. Kate waited until Hisoka left before slowly asking, why don't you get rid of him? This kind of murderous maniac attacks people just because of his personal hobby. There will probably be many more people who will die in his hands in the future. Hearing this, Rocky smiled and said, you are right. That guy is indeed a perverted murderer, but the targets of his attacks are only those who are interested in him. People who can make such a guy interested are mostly nun masters. Ordinary people don't provoke him. and he won't fight with ordinary people. Rocky turned around and prepared to leave. In the final analysis, the world of nuns still depends on who is stronger. If other nun are targeted but can't protect themselves, then Song can blame himself for his lack of strength. Although Rocky's statement makes some sense, Kate still disagrees. But it was Rocky who took action to get rid of the other party just now. If it wasn't Rocky who took action, there would be no way to deal with this guy. So if Rocky wanted to let him go, he had no reason to intervene. How to deal with the enemy is the right of the winner. Still disagree? Hearing this, Kate nodded. Yes. Rocky sighed helplessly. The fight just now was the limit of what I could do. My ki has been a little bit out of control recently, and I can't control it for a long time. If I don't let him go and continue to fight, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. Kate was stunned for a moment. Rocky's ki has been unstable recently. Is your situation really okay? Don't worry. It will be over before that thing comes. Find a hotel to rest. According to your information, that thing will take some time to come, right? Kate followed Rocky and nodded. There are about 20 days left. That's about it. When Rocky's modification is almost completed, that thing will appear. Today, I took action against Hisoka, and the ki almost affected Rocky's ability due to the growth. For a moment, Rocky even felt that the ki in his body suddenly entangled together, which seemed to have caused a certain degree of damage to his body. I have to find a place to rest and use the power of the Holy King's staff to recover. I just don't know now. Have the Phantom Troop come to this city? At the other end of the city at this moment, Rocky and Kate are located in the east of the city, which is considered a wealthy area, but the Phantom Troop is located on the other side, which is equivalent to being in the slums. I don't know why. Maybe it's the habit of spiders. They like to stay in dark, damp places where there is no sunlight, and the gathering place of the brigade this time is also the same. Located in an abandoned factory, Krallo sat on a pile of huge rusty steel pipes. The nearest thing below was Paikanada. One by one, the brigade members in the factory found a place to stop and rest. Who else hasn't arrived? Krallo asked. Pagnata answered immediately. Nobunaga, Phaeton, and Franklin are on their way, and they said they will arrive in 3 days. The others have already arrived. At this time, Yuvijin looked unhappy. Phaeton and Franklin are fine. Those two guys always like to drag their feet. What's wrong with Nobunaga? When did that guy become like this? I will teach him a lesson when he comes. Shalnark smiled. Yuvijin has not arrived at the agreed time yet. They are not late. Who cares? They are the last to arrive anyway. At this moment, Krallo glanced at number 4 hiding in the corner. Face. This guy came quite early this time. In the past, he was either the last to arrive, or he came but did not come to the gathering place, but waited outside and would not show up until the last minute. However, he came here so early this time of wait. Krallo always felt that this guy seemed to have other purposes. This time, it is quite rare for all members of the brigade to gather. This is the information of all members of the brigade. In the hotel, Rocky asked Kate to take a look at the brigade's information again. Krallo, Lucifer represents the number 0, followed by Nobunaga. Hakama represents the number 1, and so on. Phaeton, Patu, Maki, Kao Makaini, Omen Shadow, Finks, Magukapu, Franklin, Bordeaux, Bryce, Joe, Pacunada, Peeling Split, Fu, Onanengo, Yuvijin, Kubi, a total of 13 people. The others are not interesting. Rocky is mainly interested in the 4 Omen Shadow and the 8 Bryce Joe, these 2 guys. The Omen Shadow was killed by Hisoka. Of course, the movie version said that Hisoka did not really kill this guy, but was cleverly used by this guy to withdraw from the group. As for the 8 Bryce Joe, he was killed by Killua's father, Silva. Zoldyck. It seems that he also confronted Krallo. Rocky squinted his eyes and thought, I don't know when Killua's father Silva will take action against the 8 of the group. If this guy also encounters it, it'll be very interesting. Although the reason was not explained in the previous anime, Rocky analyzed that there are probably 2 possibilities. The first possibility is that Krallo was not Silva's opponent at that time. According to Krallo's personality, if the loss is too great or the risk is too high, he will not take risks easily. Perhaps mobilizing all members of the brigade can kill Silva, but it is unknown how many people will die, and it is even possible that the brigade will be severely damaged. So Krallo chose to let Silva leave. The second possibility is that Krallo has no energy to care about Silva and is distracted by other things. And there is probably only one thing that can distract Krallo: the brigade's plan. If it is not for something precious, Krallo probably will not sit idly by and watch his members being killed. Then it is very likely that Silva, Zoldyck, will also appear this time. Of course, it is just a possibility. If Silva comes, then this time will be lively. Hisoka, Silva, with Kate and I, it's getting more and more exciting. Kate was a little confused when she saw Rocky's strange smile. Why did Rocky look like the perverted killer she met before? However, it's not just these people who came this time. How could Shue Lioli, one of the 7 beauties in the world, not be escorted by a powerful guy? You know, one of this thing can buy a small country. Of course, there are professional hunters escorting it, not just military escorts. And there is more than one professional hunter responsible for escorting one of the 7 beauties in the world this time. In addition to bounty hunters, because Shue Lioli was transported this time, another type of hunter was attracted. Gem hunter, Biscuit. In return, Biscuit doesn't want money, but only hopes to take a look at this thing, and, if possible, it would be best if he can touch it. Such a request is a bit speechless in the eyes of the employer. If he didn't know that this person is very strong, he probably wouldn't agree. Chapter 81, New Rules. Rocky's goal. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it even if you beat me to death. Kate said helplessly.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.